was off. So, yeah, hopefully it still spins as much as it did. I guess when we first started, as I said just before, I think the ball's a little bit softer now and probably not catching the grass quite as much. But Gaz also bowled a pretty long spell into the wind there, so he might have been a bit tired. Hopefully he's a bit fresher in the morning. There's a bit more on him and we can get a bit more out of the surface.
Was there a plan to bat towards a declaration target, or was it just a matter of batting and seeing what happened?
Honestly, I have no idea. I've been in a separate change room with COVID, so I have no idea what the plans have been. I've just been hanging out there and been quite bored, actually.
Okay. Yeah, with watching, Lyon making 40-odd would have been fun with everyone else, but on your own, not so much.
Oh, no, it was still fun.
Ratchin Ravindra, just your thoughts on him the last, you didn't get much of a look at him in the first innings. You did during the World Cup, but seeing him in a test match and flourishing today.
Yeah, look, he's a nice player, isn't he? It looks like he's got a lot of time and, hopefully we can get him out early in the morning.
Okay, good luck tomorrow.
Cheers.
Steve Smith at stumps last night. It was much more windy then than it is now as we're about to start day 4 at the Basin Reserve in Wellington. The two quotes that jumped out at me, Xavier, there's not as much spin and there's not as much seam in the last hour last night, and it is at its best to bat right now. Does that give us a little insight into the way that the Aussies are thinking before we start this fourth day?
It absolutely does. He only said it 3 or 4 times in that 2-minute interview, didn't he? So that gives you a sense of how the Australians were feeling heading towards stumps yesterday. I could still see plenty of spin from Nathan Lyon. I think maybe just their areas weren't quite as good as the day wore on, and the fact that Mitchell's now spent 63 balls at the crease, Ravindra, who's been there for 94 balls, time at the crease, has, it's testament to the way they've played and putting the pressure back on Australia, but it certainly gives an insight into the mindset of the Australians, no doubt.
We'll get to see Glenn Phillips, you'd think, at some stage today, Brian, unless this partnership goes all the way, and then obviously he won't be required. But
I hope not.
What an amazing test match it's been for him. So he set the tone with the bat. When he walked out the bat, they were 5 for 29, and they were completely on the ropes. It was looking like it was going to be a paltry first innings total. In the end, he scored 71 off 70, better than a run of ball, and then comes out with the ball in hand yesterday as a former wicketkeeper to take 5 for 45. We spoke a bit about it yesterday, the kind of busy cricketer that every team would love to have in their lineup. What a match it's been for him so far in a game in which the Kiwis have been outplayed in other parts.
It shows the kind of player he's developing into. He played his first test, called in belatedly to the series in Australia 2019 or 2020 round about then, just after the World Cup anyway. And he played his first test at the Sydney Cricket Ground, got a half century. And he did it in style, and he does. He plays with some style. He's aggressive. He gets the ball to rip when he bowls, and that was quite obvious. And it's not going to stop turning just because it's day 4, is it? So, we've got him to come in with the batting, provided it's developed between Ravindra and Mitchell. He will again play the same style, I think. He plays spin well. He's done that in past test innings. He's got 60 against Bangladesh, if I remember rightly. But, he's a capable player, right? I would like to see, if this partnership can go on, then to see him and Blundell get their chance to try and whittle away this 369. I mean, when you come out the bat, you look at it and say, it's still a long way off, but as I said yesterday, you still got to believe, otherwise you're not going to make it.
Now, the weather looks pretty good so far today. It's getting windier as the day progresses. The precipitation expectations is that it won't rain at all, so touch wood, that holds. The other part in terms of the breeze, at the moment it's only 13 kilometre an hour winds. It is expected to get up to about 19 to 25 nearing stumps, but for most of the day it won't be too bad by Wellington standards at least, and certainly from what we saw yesterday. Very quickly, Brian, before you jump out, Jim Maxwell will be in to call the first ball in a few moments' time. New Zealand to resume at 3 for 111, chasing a further 258 to win the test. Lee Jamon is our lunchtime guest today. He's going to join Ben Cameron. He's the current Chief Executive of New South Wales Cricket, of course, made his Test debut as the captain of New Zealand. What are your recollections of Lee Jamon as a cricketer?
Oh, he was a quality cricketer. and a very good leader. That's why he was made captain at an early stage when he'd, not done anything at the top level. And he was a man for the time. He was needed at that time. They were looking to try and restore the New Zealand game. I know Lee pretty well. I ring him quite often to get, his view on the way the game is going. Lovely man, great cricketer. Made a huge contribution to Canterbury cricket as well, because he was in a leadership role down there. So, we miss his, views from the sideline in the game here. But I'm sure that the Australians are using him well.
What were the circumstances? How does he end up coming in and being the captain on debut? Is there some off the top of your head?
I'm just trying to think back to it was the Glenn Turner coaching era.
Okay.
And the side was sort of a little bit insecure. I think the individuals in the side were a bit insecure, and I think they were looking to try and restore the the sanity within the side, I suppose. Well, they just weren't a settled side.
Well, we'll hear from him during the lunch break, and he could tell us all about it. So Leisure Mon is the lunchtime guest with Ben Cameron. Jim Maxwell's about to jump in. Day 4 is about to begin. New Zealand resuming at 3 for 111 with their emerging superstar Rachin Ravindra at the crease. He's 56 not out, and Daryl Mitchell is there on 12. So it feels like there's a lot on this partnership. Xavier Doherty set it up for us. With day 4 about to begin. Jim Maxwell will be the next voice you'll hear after that, ready to call the first ball on the 4th day.
Thanks, Corb. Yeah, I feel like we're in for an intriguing day of Test cricket. They've been incredibly hard to predict the first 3 days of this Test match as the players make their way towards the playing strip. My sense is Nathan Lyon for the visitors holds the key. For the fortunes of this Test match. I think we're going to see quite a few of the Ashes 2023 tactics employed, particularly from the quicks. We're going to see lots of short ball bowling, particularly at Ravindra. Late last night, he seemed very happy to take on the short ball. So I get the sense that might be plan A for the Australians. A few guys out on the leg side. Ravindra is the man who's looked to score. I get the sense that he's going to feel some of that pressure as the day wears on, that a lot of the scoring will rely on his fortunes, and the Australian off-spinner, Nathan Lyon, who surprisingly is not going to start from his preferred end. It'll be Mitchell Starc as we welcome Jim.
I like your thoughts there, Xavier. I'm sure the Australians have been cooking up the plot about this 4th day against the New Zealand batsmen, that perhaps the best way to get into them is to bowl a bit of pace, some of it intimidatory at the batsmen, and see if they'll take it on, particularly Ravindra. And it's not an unusual tactic, but sometimes it does make you wonder when it doesn't work, particularly if they don't get the length right. And they don't get the response from the batsmen that they're anticipating, as England liked to do in the early part of the last Ashes series by daredevil taking on in sort of kamikaze fashion the short pitch stuff. So here we go, 2 slips in the gully. It's Starc from the Adelaide Road end, and it's left alone full and wide outside the off stump as Mitchell leant forward and watched it fly by. So a big day in anticipation, not yet a full house. Maybe they're having a cup of coffee or going to church or whatever they need to do before they get down to the ground. But this could be a very good day of Test cricket. New Zealand are definitely back in the game if they can get away to any sort of start, aren't they?
No doubt about that. The way they played last night, and you could sense that in the way that Steve Smith spoke in that interview we heard moments ago. They've got Australia not necessarily on the back foot, but certainly contemplating the worst case scenario.
So it's Mitchell Starc down there at the far end. He comes running into bowl at the Mitchell, who's back and across in behind the line of a quickish delivery in at the line of his leg stump and his hip, and he popped it away on the offside. It feels a little cooler. You've been out inspecting the surface. What's it like out in the middle of the Basin Reserve?
It's very comfortable. Corbin mentioned there's not a breath of wind. You can hear the wind flapping in the microphone of the interview Geoff did with Steve Smith. That was done from the end of play last night. There's not a breath of wind out there just at the moment, it's actually really comfortable, almost quite humid conditions. And as Steve Smith said, it does look a very good batting wicket, but there is still some assistance there.
Stark is running in and he's bowling, pitching up and driven by Mitchell down towards mid-off, and there's a diving save there by Labuschagne to stop the ball running away. So crucial partnership, as are the next one or two for New Zealand to stay in the game. And Australia will appear to have been on top of this contest ever since that last wicket partnership on the second day. But for all that, it was a bit of a surprise given the situation of the game that Australia only made 164. Yes, they had some runs in the bank and they could afford a bit of risk, but New Zealand got quite a bit out of this surface through their part-time spinner. Here comes Stark, pitching up and outside the off stump, just outside, and he allows it to pass through. So compare the performance there by Glenn Phillips with that of Nathan Lyon. You'd have to say Phillips had the better of the argument.
Oh, he absolutely did. And certainly there was something in the way that Australia batted. You got that sense that they felt they were comfortable with 350 on the board, the shots they were playing against a part-time spinner. He did bowl very, very well, Glenn Phillips, but the way Australia batted certainly didn't show him the respect that he deserved in the conditions that they were facing. And there's no doubt that the New Zealand batsmen, when they've had their chance, have handled it a lot more comfortably.
Stark flies in again, just wide of the off stump, a bit fuller and wider, and allowed to pass. So as much as Australia can entertain and make good scores, recent history tells us that they're prone to vulnerability to failure, to batsmen who are a bit out of nick and nicking off too against any sort of quality in the opposing attacks. And we've seen that pretty much in this game beyond the night watchman and Cameron Green.
It's been a surprise, hasn't it? As I mentioned, it's been a really hard game to predict. Josh Hazlewood batting for 2.5 hours on day two, and then Nathan Lyon top scoring for the Australians in their second innings. It's had a few twists and turns, this one.
Here's Stark under the cloud, bowls outside the off stump. High cloud, no threat of rain at the moment. So proceeding start with a maiden here on the fourth morning in Wellington. And the other factor around the game here for Australia and New Zealand is as remarkable as Phillips' performance has been. What is more extraordinary when you think back, he did not bowl one ball in the first innings of this match.
It's crazy, isn't it? The New Zealand selectors not going with a frontline spinner in this match. Mitchell Santner's the guy on the sidelines. They've taken Ravindra and Phillips in as their two bowling options, as you say. Didn't bowl a single ball in that first innings, and then I think saw the amount of spin that Nathan Lyon got and thought, oh, well, in the second innings, well, let's throw him the ball and see how this one works out. And 5 for 45 later, the game is turned on its head as we're going to see Nathan Lyon from the opposite end.
At our commentary box, northern end, yes.
It's quite interesting. Corbin and I were out there before the start of play. Nathan Lyon's actually made his own footmarks. So the fact that he's changed ends, he's going to be bowling into his own footmarks when the right-hander in Mitchell comes onto strike. And it's actually quite a significant footmark for a guy that's 65 kilos, Nathan Lyon, 75. He's not a heavyweight by any means, but he's created quite a little target for himself to bowl at against the right-handers.
He might be an ounce or two heavier with those dark glasses and also a pullover on. He's bowling around the wicket, or he's aiming to Ravindra with a slip and a short leg. Here he comes, first ball of the day for him. Short, hit hard out to deep point, and there's an easy single to Mitch Marsh, excuse me, in the distance. And the scoreboard ticks over for the first time, 3 for 112.
Just a little short there from Nathan Lyon. Ravindra very keen to get on the back foot. There's been more bounce than we expected in this pitch, so playing off the back foot against the spinners has been the preferred option. Nathan Lyon was critical a little yesterday about the fact they weren't running with a genuine offside slip. They're going to employ one here today. So Steve Smith's the man that's scratching his placement mark. So I'd like to see Nathan Lyon challenge both edges of the bat, which will make him far more dangerous.
Slip and a short leg around the wicket. He bowls to Mitchell, who leans forward softly, quietly, and pats the ball down in front of him. So what will he get from the surface today? He's already got useful figures. 16 over 7 maidens, 2 for 28. It could be a 5 or 6 for if he gets it right. He goes in again. Mitchell's down the pitch and he waits for the ball. He doesn't go on with a shot with the usual suspect at long on for line and a deep mid-wicket, or man just in front of square backward, square mid-wicket. And those two men, excuse me, near the bat. It's a leg slip and short leg. He bowls again, a reverse sweep, and he hits the ball straight to the only man behind the wicket on the offside. Not sure about the value of that shot on a pitch that's got a bit of bounce. He struck it well, but straight at Mitchell Starc. What's the percentage?
Pretty low. That's the 4th time he's tried it, and the 4th time he's picked out the backward point fielder and bringing the top edge of his bat into play every time, Jim.
Now he leans forward and pushes into a gap. Yes, there's a single to backward point. They have to move, though, because there was a little bit of hesitation. Starc came in to pick up a ball that just rolled slowly towards him behind point. And it was the call from Ravindra that got the run going, with Mitchell going a little bit late. And now they're having a chat about the communication.
Well, the one thing that the reverse sweep did do then, it pushed Mitchell Starc, who was at backward point, just back a few steps. So when Mitchell just dropped it into the offside, there was a single on offering. So that's one thing the reverse sweep does do. It manipulates the field a little.
Lone bowling to the lefty. It's short, and again it's hit to backward point. Because when you drop a little short on this surface, it's fairly slow. And he whacked it hard where Cameron Green was fielding. So a couple of runs to start proceedings for New Zealand. 256 more required. 7 wickets for Australia. And there's a kind of cloudy haze over the ground this morning. It's not a wet one, well, not yet, but it's quite sort of hazy, isn't it?
It is.
Maybe the window's dirty.
The windows are. They're a little dark. They're tough windows to clean. I'm not sure how they go about it at the height that we're at. But yeah, just looking over.
You need a drone with a brush on it, wouldn't you?
That's southeast, isn't it? Wads, I'm looking. That's southeast towards that. Just the little hills in the background are just some low-lying cloud hovering over the top. But
Athletic Park used to be down there, but that's a long while ago.
Long while gone.
That was the big rugby ground here in Wellington. Famous test matches played there, but I think there's housing there now, isn't there, Wads? Yes. Young people's homes, he says. Yeah. Aged care facility, right. That's you and me, Wads. 2 slips gully, leg slip, and Starc has got the ball down at the far end, the southern end. He rushes up and bowls, and he's pushed away on the onside. Walking across goes Mitchell.
One thing I noticed at the end of Nathan Lyon's over, Jim, was he went straight to Pat Cummins. I don't think he's overly comfortable with the change that they've made and the off-spinner bowling at this northern end. All the wickets have been from the southern end. Glenn Phillips and Nathan Lyon himself. His 6 wickets that he's taken in this match were all from that end, and I dare say we might see a change in the not-too-distant future.
So you're saying a bloke with 354 test wickets can tell a 522 wicket man which end he should bowl? Starc charges in and bowls in a bit of bat to pad and away to the onside. He shuffles across and sends it. Yes, there's a comfort zone. It's more about what the fast bowlers are feeling as their feet land than spinners, I think. But yes, Starc. Let's see what he does with the ball as a result of perhaps not being 100% sure of it all from the other end.
Well, Nathan Lyon's the man, in my opinion, who holds the key here for Australia. So Mitchell Starc, he hasn't been bad, but he doesn't look like he's got the same penetration as the off spinner's going to have. So in my opinion, it should be the spinner who gets choice of ends.
Here's Starc bowling outside the off stump. And you were a left-arm orthodox spinner of some quality. So, yes, you've got the authority to speak strongly on that subject, as Nathan Lyon would, I'm sure.
Just an opinion. I never got choice of ends at any level I played, Jim. And I sit around 515 wickets behind, wickets behind Nathan Lyon. But
so who are the quicks around you? Mitchell Johnson?
Yes, a nice
Siddle?
Johnson. Peter Siddle took a hat-trick. And that
the Brisbane Test?
The Brisbane Test, which was my debut test. Ryan Harris was around there. Doug Bollinger popped his head in and out of that team.
Here's Stark pushed away by Mitchell for a single just wide of Head, who's down there at mid-off. So he gets his first run of the day. He's 14, or his second run. He's 14, Ravinder's 57, 3 for 114. Yes, there's always a pecking order, which is understandable, but when Stark is in rhythm, look out. And it may happen all of a sudden. A nick down the leg side, anything can change your state of mind. And Ravindra's on strike, 2 men out, fine leg, deep backward square. Is there already the thought of banging a few in? We'll just wait and see.
They're giving himself the option, aren't they? It's maybe a player or two short that I was predicting. So it won't be an all-out bouncer barrage, which of course was a key feature of the Ashes series last year, Jim, to some disgust from some of the fans.
If you commit suicide on it, that's bad luck, eh? Forward goes Ravindra, playing down towards mid-off, which is what England did on a couple of occasions. They just indulged. Didn't matter what the height of the bouncer was, they'd take it on. So there was always going to be a top edge or three.
Well, Australians were... They weren't innocent in the whole.
They
took it. They had a go at it as well. So just testing the patience of.
On those smaller grounds too, you probably get away with it a bit more on the top edge because it'll go over the fence. It might do that here, but I just wonder. And I think Ravindra has been around for a bit. He'll just watch. As he did yesterday. So here's Stark running in towards him. Ravindra takes it off his toes. It was full. He was trying to get it right up into the block hole, and it was well played by Ravindra. So we've had 3 overs and 3 runs scored, 3 for 114. Ravindra's 57. Mitchell's 14. Welcome to you all, wherever you're listening around Australia, around the world. It's Jim Maxwell and Xavier Doherty here at the Basin Reserve for the first of 2 tests in the Trans-Tasman Test series.
Yeah, nothing too much to worry about in the first 3 overs for New Zealand in particular. Nathan Lyon will resume his bowling spell. Not as much spin as we saw from both Phillips and Lyon yesterday. But still, as I mentioned, they've employed some slightly different tactics, which is what I like to see. They got very one-dimensional Australia yesterday, just trying to beat the inside edge of the bat.
Now, Lyon bowls down the leg side. He did that a lot to the right-handers yesterday. It was on the line and just turned away down the leg side.
A bit like that, Jim. That was some of the part of the game I didn't quite like enough yesterday.
Yeah, well, he's got a 7-2 field. Is he going to bowl up and outside the off stump? Well, he does there, but it's a quickish delivery sending the batsman back. I don't know. I always thought on a pitch that was turning a bit, you're better off with the right-handers bowling more at that line and trying to get them to play and make a mistake on the offside. But he's got no protection in the covers, of course. So he's going to bowl more at the stumps. He comes in now and he bowls at the stumps, and Mitchell pushes away down the offside.
Well, I just think when you're challenging both edges of the bat, when you're challenging the outside edge of the bat, it makes you far more dangerous on the other side. You know, if the batsman gets into the mindset, oh, he's only trying to get me one way here, it becomes a lot easier. Whereas if he took a few dismissals out of the game yesterday.
Lyon around the wicket, back he goes and forces past the bowler towards long on. It always seems redundant early in the day when the batsmen are just settling in. You just don't see, unless it's a Matt Henry, that bloke being taken on.
You don't, no. And Daryl Mitchell's been out there for 80 balls and only scored the 14 runs. So the fact they've got a long on in play, maybe it's just encouraging Nathan Lyon to throw it up a little bit, knowing that he's got that bit of protection. But it was one thing that Shane Warne hated, was allowing that sort of early single before a batsman has even tried that shot.
Here he comes, Lyon. Now to the left-hander. He's bowling to Ravindra. Ravindra, that's short and he's after it, but he's not getting hold of it. Miscued away towards cover.
It's almost a one-day field now. They've got the slip in play. Steve Smith's the man. They've got a short catching point. So I mentioned last over, Ravindra is getting very quickly onto the back foot and looking to cut Nathan Lyon. They've put a catcher in play here, Australia.
Line bowls, wide of the off stump, yes. They keep hoping that he might make a mistake, I suppose. But he bowls wide outside the off stump to end the over. And I must say, watching Lyon here, he does send me back into the ghosts of the past, watching Doug Walters playing off-spin bowling. Doug Walters was arguably one of the greatest players of off-spin bowling you'd ever see. And if he saw that field and a bloke coming around the wicket, he'd be back in a flash outside the leg stump and either cutting him through point or through the covers. You wouldn't have that field for long. But it's a different game. I don't quite understand the tactics, but that's what it is. And New Zealand, 3 for 115, and Craig MacMillan's alongside me. Good morning.
Morning, Jim.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Morning, Jim. Yeah, it's been a nice sedate start to day 4.
It has.
Which is always a good way to start for New Zealand. But, yeah, it's been excellent.
Well, let's hope the contest is sustained like this as Stark charges in, and it's short, and he's on the back foot for 4. Wanged away to the boundary behind point. A little bit of width, and he was attracted to it with a swivel of his bat. Thank you, says Mitchell. At last I could hit something, and he put it away to the backward point boundary for 4.
It was in the air, though. It wasn't far away from that gully fielder. But it was a ball that he had to attack, had to go after. And he went through with the shot, so it went in the air, no problem there. Good from Daryl Mitchell. New Zealand have to be positive. They have to be looking to get in good, strong positions and looking to score. And that will put some pressure back on the Australian bowlers. This first hour, as we seem to say on every day of a test match, is so crucial.
Stark tries again, and Mitchell's forward to a fuller ball and pushes it down towards mid-on. Picked up by Stark and his follow-through. So what do you make of it all here? What's going to happen today if you're going to be the prophet?
I wouldn't like to guess. Who would know after the previous 3 days with that, Jim? But I think back 12 months ago, New Zealand forced to follow on against England. Set England a very gettable 230, 240 and managed to win by a run. Quite imaginable test victory. So why can't they do it again here?
Yes, Stark bowls, and again he's forward. He wants a run, he doesn't get it because it goes too quickly towards mid-off at 3 for 119. He just sense that the way they batted yesterday, if they can get a start here, it's going to keep us interested for some time. I mean, Nathan Lyon doesn't look like rocking and rolling, but particularly these strange fields at the moment. And maybe he's at the wrong end anyway, but I just don't see wickets falling all over the place at the moment.
No, that's a fair point. It's an interesting one with the change of ends because the breezes are southerly at the moment, but it's supposed to turn back to the normal northerly, which we had yesterday.
Yeah.
So then he'll have to rotate around, but...
Stark bowls short. He swivels and swings it away out to deep backward square. There are going to be runs in this, and it will be picked up just inside the line by Hazelwood. It didn't quite have the way on it to go racing to the boundary, but 2 runs nonetheless, and Mitchell keeps rolling along. He's 21.
But I have to say, I don't think Nathan Lyon's bowled overly well. I thought he struggled into the breeze yesterday. His length was way too short, and if he'd been a touch fuller, he would have been more of a handful. A bit like Glenn Phillips was. I thought he got the length right. So I sort of, from Australian point of view, I'd be tempted to give Lyon the wind. And it's not much of a wind at the moment, so the fast bowlers going into it is not really an issue until it gets up a bit heavier, a bit windier than what it is now. I would be tempted to give him the wind and see if he can find that right length and be more of a challenge for the New Zealand batters.
Here's Stark again, Mitchell forward, watching the ball and pushing it away. The ball's not doing much, it's certainly not swinging.
No.
It seems to be true, predictable bounce in the surface. Maybe the roller's done its job for the batsman.
Yeah, I think it might have. It certainly looks quite sedate at the moment, doesn't it, as a surface compared to what we've seen on the previous 3 days. But there's no real lateral seam movement. I mean, how many overs? 45 overs old, the ball. So it should be on the softer side. So batting now should be a pretty good time to be out in the middle and batting with this ball 40-odd overs old.
3 for 121, New Zealand. Stark charges up again, and he's forward to the length. Playing with respect down the pitch, and it's underarm by Stark back towards the stumps to end the over. Time for Brian Waddle to come in and join Craig MacMillan at 3 for 121.
Good start by New Zealand. Both players, Ravindra and Mitchell, have looked pretty steady this morning. There hasn't been any real trouble from the Australian attack. And Stark and Lyon have been used so far this morning. And already we see there's going to be a change. Pat Cummins has said, I'm going to bring myself into the attack. And I think that's a good move. Talking to a couple of the New Zealand players this morning, they felt that Pat Cummins was, apart from Nathan Lyon, obviously with the turn and bounce he was able to get, but Pat Cummins was, amongst the seamers, the most difficult to face. It was a good spell he bowled yesterday. So I think this is a good move for Cummins to bring himself into the attack, Wads.
Why was he the most difficult, did they say?
They said just the length he bowled.
Yes.
And the ability
of it.
Yeah, to get the ball to move. He had the ability to bowl that in-swinger to the right-hander, would just swing. And then he has, and his wrist is so good, the ability just to get one to nip away from the right-hander. So you're always feeling like you had to play more balls than you wanted. That was the challenge.
Well, he's going to be bowling from the Vance stand end to the left-handed Rachin Ravindra. First ball of new over, and it's played into the offside. They set off for a run. Mitchell wasn't really ready for that one. Oh, element of danger. Ravindra called him, and I'm almost sitting on his bat, wasn't he?
Tight.
Yes. And it was Marnus Labuschagne who let fire at their stumps.
It actually rolled out a bit further than what Ravindra thought, and so Labuschagne got there quick. Oh, the throw was a little bit off, but it would have been touch and go.
Still a bit risky. We've seen one unnecessary run out in this game already for New Zealand.
And they're just having a chat, aren't they? I'm sure Daryl Mitchell was saying, no, it's a bit early in the day for a risky single like that.
Well, they had a little chat in the last over, I think, too, didn't they, about various issues. It's just a decision making, and give me a chance, said Dazza Mitchell. Ravindra, I think, is probably a little bit quicker between the wickets, but he also hit it, so it's going to my total.
Yeah, he was running to the safe end, so he was okay.
Yeah. Come on, good luck. 122 for 3. Cummins back over the wicket to Mitchell, and Mitchell leaves high, exaggerated fashion, getting the bat up above his head. And that bounce continues to assist the bowlers and encourage them.
Be interesting to see whether Nathan Lyon comes on from the southern end, the Adelaide Road end, and whether he replaces Stark straight away with this change from Cummins.
Which immediately means that your suggestion was listened to.
Correct.
Yeah. I thought...
I don't get listened to that often, Wads. It's nice when occasionally so you hit the ball.
I never get listened to much either.
No, well, we're in the
same problem. Yeah. 122 for 3. Cummins, 2 slips in the gully in place, going into Mitchell, and Mitchell is onto the back foot and punching it out through extra cover. Good firm stroke, heading away towards the boundary. 2 fielders in pursuit, may get it just inside the boundary. Just is flicking it back from the rope, and they'll take 3. Nice stroke, controlled over the top of it, and just forward of the point region. Travis Head got it, and I think it's the extra pace that he has that probably allowed that.
It's a nice shot, Wads, and I just wonder whether this pitch, day 4 is, perhaps there's not as much bounce today. Perhaps that bounce has just come back a touch that allowed Daryl Mitchell to get on the back foot and play that very nice shot, because on previous days the extra bounce has been hitting higher on the bat. And a number of the players talked about that. There were shots that they were looking to play, but it would hit them on the splice. Whereas that one there, I just wonder whether, as a pitch goes on throughout the days, the bounce tends to drop. So maybe today might be a really good batting day.
And the softer ball, I suppose, adds to that as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, it sort of makes sense. Not that I know too much about the sort of physics of all that, but, the pitch will lose some of its bounce, soften up, break up, whatever, over a period of a test match. And it is day 4. Cummins round the wicket to Ravindra, pulls it down towards long leg, and you'll get a single. Mitchell Stark does the fielding. And again, getting into position nicely and hitting it down. And that one didn't bounce as much as you expected either, did it?
It could be that New Zealand got 35 overs of really good batting conditions here, Wads, while this ball is in the state where it is on the softer side before that second new ball, because there's no doubt a harder, newer ball will still bounce on the surface. So New Zealand have to be aware of that. The next 35 overs are key, not just to bat and survive, but to actually put some runs on the board as well, to put Australia under some pressure.
Well, that was the point that Steve Smith said after play last night, and we used it this morning in the start of the show, that now's as good a time as any to bat, basically. Here's Mitchell defending into the offside, and that was basically his point right now.
There's no terrors.
Yeah.
That lateral movement that we've seen right throughout the game is probably at its smallest point. And if the bouncers just come back a touch to a little bit more normality, then I think that's a good thing. New Zealand have to make the most of it. They really do. If they can put Australia under pressure in the next 35 overs, then it's game on.
126 for 3. Ravindra and Mitchell at the crease. Mitchell on 24 has accelerated his score today. Next delivery has him guiding it into the offside, just opening the face, running it out to point. Travis Head is the man there to get the ball. Yeah, well, 47 overs, 126. That's the end of the over. You can go about 3 runs and over. You can talk the next 30 overs. If you get 3 runs and over and don't lose a wicket, then you can say, right, we've done the best part and set it up. Now we've got to really make it count.
Absolutely. Yeah, if New Zealand can go at 3 runs and over for the next 35, so put another 100 on the score, 230 for 3. What do they need? 130, and they might have 6 or 7 wickets in the shed. Then Australia might just start to question a few things that are going on.
Well, we've sort of talked privately about the players that have to do it, and it's these players, isn't it?
It is.
It's Ravindra, Mitchell, Blundell, Phillips.
That's their job.
If you think you're going to make it.
That's their job, to score a majority of the runs. Under pressure, it's key. So, yeah, they do have to do a majority of the scoring.
Craig MacMillan's changed the bowler at the far end as well, so we're going to see Nathan Lyon. If you sort of the field you want him to set.
I want everyone back on the boundary so New Zealand can just tick off runs as they go.
Yeah, just walk singles. 126 for 3. He's going to be bowling to Ravindra, who's established a pretty good technique against him. He's been prepared to back away and play off the back foot. Here's another one which he plays into the offside. Can't get it past the fieldsman at point. And is that Khawaja, is it?
Interesting field change, Wads. They've taken short leg, the man it was in close under the lid, and they put him in a short point for that very shot, because he's been very good at playing off the back foot through point. And they've changed the field there, which is good from Cummins. I like it. It's a different change, forcing Ravindra to go somewhere else.
Lyon up round the wicket to him, has him leaning forward and playing around the offside. Well, he doesn't have the men round the bat for a start off now, does he? Because he's forced them out. And he hasn't really hit too aerially, but he can at times, can't he, Ravindra? He's got to make sure he keeps the ball ground.
He's played that cut shot well, hasn't he? But he does have to be careful, because a couple did go in the air yesterday.
Lyon bowls to him. This one has him playing on the offside, and he's got it in the air, straight to the man at point that we're talking about. He didn't cover it up. Hazelwood had been put in there in place of Khawaja, and he has hit it in the air and has succumbed. And he walks off a little dejected with himself, because he knew he was settling in. Out for 59, caught by Hazelwood from the bowling of Lyon, just what Australia needed.
Oh, that's so disappointing. That really is, Wads, from a New Zealand point of view. It was a nothing ball, short and wide. Ravindra had the opportunity to get on top of it. He couldn't. And that change in the field made the difference with that fielder being there. He was in the perfect position to pounce that catch. He goes for 59. It was a very good innings from a young player who's just going to continue to get better and better with the more international experience he has. But that's a big blow by Australia early on day 4.
And my apologies to Cameron Green. It was he who took the catch, and not Hazelwood, as I had seen, because I'd just been watching them make the change. The previous delivery, of course, Khawaja had been there, and either Lyon or Cummins decided he's not the man for the job.
I think you would have caught that, Wads, to be fair. I think anyone could have caught that one.
What with my fingers?
I would have backed you.
126 for 4 brings in Tom Blundell to the New Zealand side. Well, a man who's a capable middle order batsman. He's basically made his career there, although he was used as an opener for a period of time, and did open the innings in Melbourne. Played an outstanding opener's innings for a century in Boxing Day Test. Now he's under even greater pressure I presume it's greater pressure than that occasion, opening opening on the Boxing Day test. Enough pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, doesn't get much bigger than that, really, does it? Boxing Day test. But he's got success against Australia previously, so that will be a confidence boost for him. Important knock this for Tom Blundell.
Well, it's two right-handers in now for New Zealand. Lyon continues round the wicket. The man close in on the onside, and he just leans forward, eases it to Travis Head, who's in the bat pad with plenty of padding from the knee down underneath his strides. Half an hour's play so far today. New Zealand have lost that one wicket. Lyon bowls to Blundell and leans forward, defends the ball. The onside, gentle touch of the ball. 126 for 4. Ravindra out for 59 today to go with the dismissals of Latham for 8 yesterday, Young 15 and Williamson 9. And they really battled against the conditions then, didn't they? Well, it's the same today, although for a while looking a little more comfortable. Blundell is forward, taken on the pad and bat as well. Just gently nudging it, a nick into the pad. It's ballooned in the air and Tom Blundell has gone. 2 wickets in the over. Caught Head, bowled Lyon for no score and 126 for 5. New Zealand slump.
Disappointing, really disappointing. It's full of delivery. It has turned a touch, just taking a little bit of an inside edge onto pad. Easiest of easiest catches you'll ever get at short leg. And it's just such a soft dismissal from the New Zealand wicketkeeper. He goes for 0, and all of a sudden this game has just turned on its head. 2 wickets in the over. What a change, you have to say. Good captaincy by Pat Cummins to bring himself on, change Nathan Lyon around because it wasn't working, and they've been rewarded with that.
Well, that was the end he was successful or looking successful at yesterday, so it was justified. Glenn Phillips now has to come out and try and lift New Zealand into a position whereby they can threaten that target of 369. Not looking that likely at the moment. And Nathan Lyon, 4 for 30, his figures. 19 overs for that, so he's been totally controlled in terms of the batsman. Not been easy to score runs from. The field placements have been such that not too much is being conceded. And now Glenn Phillips comes out to establish a partnership with Mitchell. They stand at mid-pitch and have a little bit of a chat. Blundell got one that turned quite sharply.
It's just a really soft shot. It's not a great option to be try and play with half a bat when you've got a leg slip and play as well as a short leg. You know, you've actually got to be a little bit more definitive with your shot.
He could have almost left that and taken it on the pad.
Correct.
Not playing a shot.
Because it was going a mile down leg. Just trying to work it around your pad. We saw Kane Williamson get out the same way. Not a great option.
Well, it's Cummins back into the attack, bowling from the Vance stand end. And he goes bowling to Mitchell, and Mitchell manages to work it away on the onside, just helping it on its way as it bounced with a sort of sweep pull, wasn't it, to the man down at Longlead, Mitchell Stark. One more run, 127 for 5.
He's looked a lot more comfortable today, Daryl Mitchell, than what he did yesterday. I thought he looked nervous at the crease and made a few mistakes and looked like he could get out at any time. But today, it's a lot like the old Daryl Mitchell, where he's been confident. His footwork's been good. He's got into strong positions. He's looking to score. If Australia miss, he's going to hurt them. So he's looked better today.
He almost looked mentally confused about what his role was. And he chose the role of I've got to occupy the crease.
Which is
and
not
that was
his
the
role.
right decision. 127 for 5. Phillips on strike. Here's the delivery to him, which is guided away into the gully. The diving green manages to drag it in. You've got to remember that when anybody else might be covering 6 feet, he's covering 10 in the field. So you don't take a run until you see it actually go past him.
He's got long levers, hasn't he, in that gully position, which is always handy. I guess the thing with Mitchell too, remember he's coming back from injury or being rested, either way, he hasn't played a lot of cricket wads and he just looked rusty yesterday at the crease and not at his best, but he's looked really positive today, so that's a good sign for New Zealand.
Well, Phillips is the other man that needs to look much the same as Cummins bowls to him, and he plays defensively but doesn't make contact with it. He hit the ground more than anything. It went down the leg side to be taken by Carey. But already we're seeing Phillips just getting forward to try and pressure the bowler change his line.
Yeah, we've just seen the replay of the dismissal of Tom Blundell. It just looks so submissive. There's just not quite sure what he was trying to do. It didn't look like he was really looking for a run, but it was just going to end badly, and it did.
Well, it's similar to the first innings, wasn't it, when he was out for 33. Cummins goes into Phillips, and Phillips nudges it into the offside. Just a firm defensive push out towards cover, where it's picked up there by Labuschagne, and they get a single for it.
He's had some test match, Glenn Phillips, hasn't he? I think 71 in the first innings, 5 for with the ball. What's he going to have to do this innings to get man of the match, you reckon?
180?
180, take it off Cam Green. Yeah.
128 for 5. The day started positively for New Zealand and promisingly. Mitchell on strike, Cummins bowls to him, and it's played into the offside. No, loud call, quite wisely. I'm not sure who it was who said no, but it was a pretty sensible call in the end result. Mitchell 25, 93 deliveries he's faced, and we know he can bat long periods. He did it against England, in England, on more than one occasion.
Indeed.
In the series that New Zealand were heavily beaten by England under the Stokes Bazball regime. 128. Cummins up again to Mitchell, who's prepared to advance forward too. Take half a step, but no strokers offered, as it was landed a little bit shorter and said, "Don't come at me." Pat Cummins, 128 for 5. That's the end of the over. Phillips 1, Mitchell 25.
That's another good over from Pat Cummins. There's just something behind the ball when he bowls. And he wanted to make sure that that last ball there was no single for Daryl Mitchell. He wanted to keep Glenn Phillips on strike for Nathan Lyon. And that's so important, the bowling partnership. I often talk about batting partnerships and how you try and help your mate out at the other end, but same applies to a bowling partnership as well. Trying to keep different players on strike at a certain end, so important.
Well, having a look at the field, just a discussion between captain and bowler, and bowler directing the traffic. The captain's just agreeing with everything as you would, unless you had strong views otherwise. The bowler exactly knows how his fielders be replaced, so he's put Pat Cummins into short mid-wicket. There's a square leg, bat pad, a leg slip, short fine leg, and deep man at mid-wicket and long on. Here's Phillips turning the ball behind square, getting over the top of it down to backward square leg. So that very strong 7-2 field is once more in place, and exactly had they had it set up yesterday, isn't it, with almost Khawaja right in behind Travis Head close in on the onside. Here's Phillips turning it down the onside. Did he make contact with it? Smith is there.
Might have just been short of Steve Smith, Wads, I think.
Well, he was practicing that this morning for a long period out here on the practice block. And yes, there was a fair bit of bat on that one.
Just short. So, again, that technique means that is where the ball's going to go. New Zealand batters have to do something different here. They have to change their guard. Otherwise, they're going to keep short leg and leg slip and play.
Lyon bowls again to Phillips. He's taken on the pad. The ball rebounds away onto the offside. Carey does the fielding. Well, of course, all their options are closed down, aren't they? With the close-in fieldsmen and then players almost behind those close catches. The real option is mid-wicket, isn't it? And that's where Cummins has placed himself. Very hard to hit down the ground for the single, I would imagine, the way the ball is turning at the moment. Lyon bowls again to Phillips. LBW's given. Taken on the pad, going back, and the third wicket of the morning for Nathan Lyon. Another 5-for. Is he going to challenge it? Mitchell's coming up to tell him to challenge it. He's given pretty quick by... Yes, he has.
Had to.
Yes, he was given pretty quick by the umpire Erasmus.
Well, he's the last recognised batter, so he had to, even though...
Original decisions out. I have checked the feed. It's a fair delivery. Front on spin vision piece.
So it's a fair delivery. We've learnt that.
I think it's probably going to be out, but he still had to have a crack.
Well, he's back on the stayed a little bit lower too, didn't it? sit high above the knee roll. He knows. He's already had a look at the picture and has decided that he's going to head off. It doesn't look as though there's any bat. No bat in it. Straight into the pad, above the knee roll.
Line as the ball passes the bat. No bat involved. Ball tracking, please.
So he's heading off towards the boundary, just waiting for the third umpire to give his decision. But I think it's pretty clear exactly what was happening there. Impact in line and hitting. And New Zealand's challenge for the target of 369 disintegrating pretty rapidly over a period of 10 minutes. At the moment, Nathan Lyon changed to the far end. He's picked up 3 wickets.
Nice piece of bowling. Another 5 foot for the champion off-spinner from Australia. What's he got? 9 wickets in this match. That's impressive. It's impressive because that delivery was the one that skidded on. It actually didn't turn as much, and Phillips got caught on the crease, expecting it to turn a little bit more. It didn't. Rattled into his pads, and it's been a horror 15 minutes for New Zealand. Squared him up, played all around it. A nice easy decision for umpire Maria Erasmus, and now Australia into the New Zealand bowlers.
It's a bit cruel of us, really, wasn't it, to have you and Wads on for that last 20 minutes, Macca?
Very cruel.
Thanks to Brian Waddle, Corbin Middlemas alongside Craig MacMillan. And the Aussies are rattling towards another test win against New Zealand. First test of 2 in this Trans-Tasman series, and given there's only 2 test matches, it means that a win will be enough to retain the trophy for whatever that's worth. But just what might have been match for New Zealand when you think about the 116-run stand for the last wicket in the first innings. And then Nathan Lyon gets dropped on 6 by the captain. The last ball on day 2. Goes on to top score with 41. That's even if that last wicket puts on 16 instead of 116, that the target comes down to 230 instead of 370. Huge turning points in this test match. Cougar Lyon's the new bat. He awaits Lyon and he clips it in the air, but safe down to long on for a single. So 6 for 129 New Zealand, and 369 is the victory target, way off in the distance.
Yeah, you can look at a number of missed opportunities throughout this test match, Corbin, you really can, but you can't afford any of those when you play Australia. You have to play the perfect match, and New Zealand have been far from it. They've done a lot of things well, but they'll be frustrated. You can't drop 3 wickets in 15 minutes and expect to compete. The Lions been very good.
Daryl Mitchell, the last of the recognised bats, awaits Lyon, and he just dead bats one straight back down the pitch. End of the Nathan Lyon over, 2 wickets in it. 5 for 31 for the GOAT off 20 overs. New Zealand 6 for 129. Cougar Lyon 1, Mitchell's 25, and Nathan Lyon pretty happy to put the cap back on. We had the chance to chat with him very briefly pre-match when he was taking a look at the pitch, and he was mainly at the Adelaide Road end where he's bowling at the moment. And I actually asked him when we're out there, are you any chance to bowl from the other end? He said, no, I'm dropping anchor, this is it. And whatever happened after that chat to the start, obviously something changed because he bowled the first over of the day from the RA Vance stand end of the ground where we're situated. But I don't know if it didn't seem like there was much wind at all this morning.
I think that was purely because of the breeze, because the wind changed and it became a little bit of a southerly right on start time. As opposed to the northerly. It is supposed to turn back to what we had yesterday, which was a strong northerly throughout most of the day. So effectively he's bowling with the breeze probably at the moment.
Cougar Lyon's second ball as Cummins on the way in, bowls wide of the off stump, and he lets it pass through to the keeper. Really threw his wicket away. Scott Cougar Lyon in the first innings, who was caught in the deep by Green off Lyon's bowling.
It's a horrible shot, wasn't it? Yeah. Especially when you had a bloke at the other end. I think Phillips was on 45 at that stage. Your job is to bat with him, to spend time in the middle with the guy who's been in for a while at the other end. And it was just reckless. There was a man back on the boundary, tried to take him on, hold out for 0.
2 slips of gully and a short leg. And Cougar Lyon, the number 8, awaits Cummins. He gets an inside edge. It squirts past head underneath the lid. And picked up a backward square by Mitch Marsh. 6 for 129. The SMS number 0467 920 222. If you'd like to get in touch with our call team, 0467 920 222. I think, good morning, team. This is, what do you say, caught and bowled and not bowled and caught? As the ball is bowled first. D in Netherlands, who's up very early over in the west. Probably, time's it over there? It's almost, they're 5 hours behind, almost 7 a.m. As Kugelheim awaits Cummins, a short lifter outside the off stump and allowed to fly through to the keeper. That's the same way we register every other dismissal, isn't it? It's always caught then bowled if it went in the scorebook, even if you got caught by the keeper. It would be caught Carey, bowled Cummins, or whatever it may be.
Catch always comes first, doesn't it? Wherever it's caught.
Andy in Bendigo, is there a serious case for Nathan Lyon to be man of the match over Cam Green, given how many wickets, and how many wickets would he have to take for that to happen? He's got 9 in the match.
Ooh, good question.
Green's so far out in front as the leading scorer in the Test match. As Kugelheim awaits, it's a short one, and he's happy just to roll his shoulder underneath it, and it flies through to Carey.
I think we've seen spinners from both sides be successful with the ball because of the helpful conditions that they've encountered. I think the outlier is that first innings from Cameron Green, 174 not out, that allowed Australia that big first innings total, and that has been the difference between the two sides. So I personally would still have Cameron Green with his nose in front, but I can understand the question, and it's been terrific performance from Nathan Lyon again. And there probably is an argument for it, but I personally would swing towards Cameron Green.
Here comes Cummins on his way in again, bowling to Kugelheim, and this hops on him, goes high off the bat and squirts through where leg gully would have been. Picked up by Stark, coming in from fine leg. Single for Kugelheim, but a nervy moment. He moves to 2. Mitchell's on 25, and there's a ball to come in the Cummins over. New Zealand are now 6 for 130. Victory target way off in the distance, 369.
There's that extra bounce. I think it's going to be an uncomfortable time for Scott Kugelheim. It's not going to be too many balls pitched up in his half, so he's going to have his back foot defence in order and make sure that he's watching the ball closely, because he's going to have to do a bit of ducking and diving at times. He's got to try and hang around as long as he can with Daryl Mitchell here.
Here comes Cummins again, bowls to Mitchell, who confidently defends back down the wicket. That's the end of the Cummins over. So Mitchell's 25, Kugelheim's 2, 6 for 130. New Zealand at the moment, Corbin Middlemas and Craig MacMillan on ABC Cricket. So the top scorers in the Test match, we've got Green 174 not, and then only 2 other guys are past 50. Phillips with 71, better than a run of ball, and Rachin Ravindra with 59 here in the second innings. It's a no-y, in fact. Thanks, Jim. So,
gee, they call that late, don't they, upstairs?
Yeah. One more, 6 for 131. As Cummins on his way in, bowls short, and Mitchell ducks underneath it, and now we're done. So that's the end of the Cummins over.
So that suggests that batting hasn't been overly easy on the surface, because normally you have a few higher scores than what we've had so far. But like I said, that innings from Cam Green, 174 not, got 34 in the second innings as well, by the way. There's a real outlier when you look at the rest of the scoring throughout this Test match. I mean, it hasn't been impossible to score runs. You've had to apply yourself and work hard, be disciplined with your approach. And Cameron Green's done that, but New Zealand, just haven't really come to the party. It's been frustrating. There were some opportunities we've talked about. They just haven't been good enough.
Nathan Lyon, the 5-wicket haul already in the second dig, bowls to Kugelheim. He gets trapped up in his pads and inside edge onto his front leg.
So here's the dilemma, Corbin. Kugelheim gets out hoiking one to the leg in the first innings when there's no need for it. Now he's going to try and be resolute in defence, and he doesn't have a defensive game, so it's the conundrum of what to do, and he'll probably lob one into short leg and walk off, and people say, well, that was a better way to get out. But it's going to be difficult for him. He's got to find a way to get a single and get down the other end and get Mitchell on strike.
Lyon on his way in, bowls to Kugelheim again. He goes the long handle here, the slog sweep out into the deep, and it'll hit the ground and roll into the rope for 4. We've seen this a couple of times already through the Test match. Cam Green just lost sight of that. We touched on yesterday, Mac, it's just not a great seeing ground at times, and Green didn't pick it up at all at backward square.
Tough seeing ground. Dropped a couple of catches at gully here, and I put it down to that. Even though I was standing a bit closer than what Cam Green was. The Aussie fielders are actually pointing. They were actually pointing because they realised that he hadn't seen it. They were all going, go left, go left. He was going right. And in the end, the ball bet him over the boundary. Well, there we go. Cougar Lions played an aggressive sweep shot.
He's 6 for 135 New Zealand. Line to Cougar line. He goes again on the slog sweep. He's got a good piece of this. Out over, deep backward square leg. One bounce for 4. Ends up being retrieved.
Well, the
first couple of rows.
Maybe Cougar Lions decided that the best form of defence is attack. Maybe he's decided that because he doesn't have much of a defensive game. In the air, if there's a normal deep backward square, would have gone straight to him. They've made that change now. Where those two balls have gone, Marnus Labuschagne has gone back in that position.
Cougar line to 10. 6 for 139 New Zealand in their second innings. The Aussies hunting these last 4 wickets as Cougar line pushes line back down the pitch.
It's good. He's still got to be selective. Don't mind him playing those attacking shots, but it can't be every ball. Still got to be selective with what ball to attack, what deliveries you have to defend. It has to be a mixture here.
Line continuing his work around the wicket. Cougar line pushes back to the bowler. If we don't see you later today, Mako, we'll see you in Christchurch.
Indeed you will. I'm hoping that I'll be back, Corbin. I've got my fingers crossed. Might need a miracle, to be fair.
Feels like we're racing towards a finish. 3 wickets falling already this morning. Last ball of Lions over as he delivers to Cougar line, who defends and just squirts away out to short leg, picked up by Travis Head underneath the helmet, thanks to Craig MacMillan. More from him to come later today, if we make it that far. If not, as I said, he'll be with us for the second test in Christchurch starting on Friday. There's a whole lot going on. You can find coverage on the blog if you want to follow along online at the test match and interact with our team up in Brisbane who are following along with the test. So abc.net.au/sport. There's NRL coverage today from Las Vegas as the season starts. So Andrew Moore, along with Ryan Hoffman, Johnny Gibbs, all in Las Vegas for ABC Rugby League. So you'll be able to hear that today through the Listen app. Look out for the green ABC Sport button or on ABC Radio in certain parts of the country. And if you want to keep following along with the cricket here and in Christchurch, place to do it is the ABC Listen app. Look out for that red cricket ball button as Pat Cummins is on his way in. Bowls to Mitchell, who comes forward and confidently defends with bat and pad close together out on the leg side. Picked up by Travis Head at mid-wicket. It's a very good morning for the first time today. Cricket writer and broadcaster Geoff Lemon. Hello, Geoff.
Good morning. Good morning. Not such a great morning for New Zealand after that good first half hour. I was just down there chatting with the CEO of New Zealand Cricket and media manager at the point where Ravindra cut one straight to point, and the deflation on both gentlemen's faces was something to see. He was the one, Ratchin. He had to do something special to give them a chance here.
Cummins rumbles in again past umpire Goff. He bowls to Mitchell and again confidently defending back down the pitch.
And then Phillips, the one who led the resistance in the first innings, couldn't do it this time around. Nathan Lyon just wheeling away, chiselling out 3 in quick succession. It's remarkable. He's got a 5 for already.
Yeah, he knew that was dead, didn't he? Phillips, he just turned and walked straight off despite the fact the reviews hadn't been used. And Darryl Mitchell said, hang on, Glenn, come back, at least put it through the video and see if something wild's happened. But as soon as he saw one replay, he was turning and walking off as Cummins digs one in short, and Mitchell hops all over it as he pulls it all the way down towards fine leg. And Mitchell Stark fields in front of the Don Neely scoreboard, which is looking favourably for the Australians at the moment. They need only 4 wickets to win the test. 6 for 140 New Zealand.
It was right up there with the most token reviews. He's already walking the first time, gets called back to review, and then starts walking again before the process is finished. Remember Steve Smith at Lords after Jofra Archer hit him and he came back from concussion, hit on the pad by Wokes in front of middle, reviewed it and started walking off immediately, waited by the boundary line. It was a strange old day.
Yeah. What a moment that was.
What an hour of cricket. The hairs still stand up on my forearms when I think about it.
Cougar line on 10. Cummins gets a chance to bowl to his fellow quick. It's short and Cummins is Cougar line's hooking. That's a nice shot. Picked it up off the top of his badge on his helmet. Hooks it away through backward square for 4. Moves to 14, his 3rd boundary.
Well, New Zealand's lower order pretty much have one gear. Henry and Southey similar. Belt whatever you can and get them as quickly as you can. They're a long way short of that being able to be a threat
against Australia. 144 on the board. They need 369 to win. So still over 200 adrift. Feels like it's a matter of time. Nathan Lyon could be on for an eighth.
Amazing. He got 4 for 43 in the first innings. By his own admission, didn't bowl all that well to get his 4 wickets. He's got 5 here already, leading the Aussie attack as Kugelheim is nicking here through backward point. Fielded by Lyon, sprawling out across the Basin Reserve grass, and Kugelheim still 14, Mitchell 26. 6 for 144.
He's got a couple of 8-fers in his career so far, never gone to 9. Won't be able to do that in this innings. But yeah, with the 4 in the first innings, could conceivably... he could end up with 9. Still 4 to take.
That's right.
Maybe he can. Maybe he's on for his best here. His best in a match is 13, so he could only match that if he went the 9 plus the 4 in the first. But the 9 is on.
3 wickets falling today, all to Nathan Lyon as Cummins bowls outside the off stump. Kugelheim bat and pad close together, pushes to Labuschagne, picks up, throws the stumps down as he's through though, running to the danger end. Kugelheim scampering to try and retain strike, which is interesting. So it means Kugelheim on 15 will face the next over. Mitchell's on 26. New Zealand now 6 for 145.
I thought New Zealand had learned from the first innings, don't take on Marnus Labuschagne's arm. Kane Williamson found that out. They did this time, managed to survive. So I've spent a bit of the last couple of days looking at Nathan Lyon numbers because it's the kind of thing I like to do with my time. 526 wickets so far, but it's the average that's interested me. So he bounced around a bit early in his career, started 17 after his first test when he took 5 on debut, got up to 38 after the South Africa test. But once he'd actually played a decent number of matches, his average was almost 36 at the end of 2014. That was sort of the highest mark of a credible average of someone who'd played a fair bit.
Lyon to continue his work with 5 already, bowls to Kugelheim, who drives along the ground down to long on. He'll get a single and brings Mitchell on strike early in the over here.
When he headed to India in 2017, where he struggled on his previous trip, his career bowling average was 34, which is pretty high for a specialist bowler. And there's always been a bit of criticism around Lyon that his average is in the 30s, not in the 20s.
Short leg gully is around the batters. Mitchell's down on one knee, looking to sweep. Plays and misses. Half a shout from Lyon. No one else all that interested.
And then he bowled really well through that India tour in 2017 and actually came home with a reduced average down in the lower 33s. And he's kept it moving downwards ever since, down to the 32s, the 31s.
Lyon around the wicket again as he bowls to Mitchell, who tries to turn it off his pads, and it runs between the leg slip and the keeper, and Steve Smith trying to stop it with his boot. Can't quite. Trickles past him, and Mitchell will get one more. Has this come off the bat? I think it may have. So 27 for Mitchell. No, it's missed everything.
Hit the keeper.
I'm not sure. I saw a signal there from Murray Rasmus, but it should be a bye. So
yeah, well, he's moved so far across to the offside that it's managed to just about go over the leg bail.
6 for 146 New Zealand. They've lost 3 wickets this morning. Lyon's got another test 5-fer, so that's his 24th. That's the other thing that surprises me, is that he only has 24 fifers. When you look at the other guys on the all-time leading wicket takers list, as Kugelheim's forward and pushes out through cover point, he hasn't got as many as a lot of his peers. And
Murali's got 60 odd, doesn't he?
Yeah, and if anything, I think that almost adds to his greatness in a way, that he hasn't taken. It's not like he's had bags. He's basically taken steady clumps of wickets in every match he's played.
Yeah, he's been more likely to take a 2 or a 3 on a regular basis than a 7 or an 8 here and there.
Here comes Lyon again as he bowls to Mitchell, and Mitchell just tucks it away. Backward a square. Steve Smith jumps out from leg slip to retrieve it.
Jaz Patel picked up 7 for yesterday in his local provincial game.
Right.
So might be food for thought. Yeah, but I'll come back to the stats in just a tick once we get out of this over.
Lyon coming in again as he bowls to Mitchell, who's down on one knee and sweeping all the way along the ground down to fine leg. Marnus Labuschagne, a red trip out in the deep for him. That's the end of the over. 6 for 149 New Zealand. Kugelheim 17, Mitchell 27. As you heard from umpire Murray Erasmus, is drinks after the first hour of play on day 4. Nathan Lyon's been the story again today. Picked up 2 last night. He's got a further 3 today. Ravindra cutting straight to point. Caught green for 59. Blundell out third ball. Caught it short leg by Travis Head off Lyons bowling for a duck. And Glenn Phillips trapped in front, LBW. It was absolutely dead. He went for 1 off just 7 balls. So Lyon with another test fifer. He's 24th. He is already 7th all-time on the wicket takers list. He has 9 for the test match. More from Geoff Lemon coming up. Jim Maxwell's on his way. New Zealand 6 for 149. The Aussies need 4 wickets to win, with drinks on the field.
ABC iView melts the heart with better date than never.
I would like to kiss someone.
Take 5 with Zan Rowe.
Yeah, there's a real kind of declaration to finding the joy in life.
Film stars don't die in Liverpool.
We had fun, mate.
Yeah, we did.
Starstruck.
Just a little kiss. It was a pip.
Marriage.
She's got such dreadful taste in men.
Line of Beauty.
You love him, don't you?
Yes, I do.
ABC iView. Always free. Always heartfelt.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the cricket. New Zealand versus Australia, live from the Basin Reserve on ABC Sport Digital. And take us with you on the ABC Listener. Just look for the red cricket button.
Lyon bowls to him. This one has him playing on the offside, and he's got it in the air, straight to the man at point that we're talking about. He didn't cover it up, and he has hit it in the air and has succumbed. Blundell is forward, taken on the pad, and bat as well. Just gently nudging it, a nick into the pad. It's ballooned in the air, and Tom Blundell has gone. 2 wickets in the over. Lyon bowls again to Phillips. LBW's given. Taken on the pad, going back, and the 3rd wicket of the morning for Nathan Lyon. Another 5-for.
New Zealand versus Australia, live from the Basin Reserve on ABC Sport Digital and the ABC Listener.
Back here in paradise at the Basin Reserve, Nathan Lyon's having a day out as he did in the first innings. 9 wickets for the match, 526 overall. He's only 274 behind Utara Muralitharan. Who knows what can happen from here, Geoff Lemon?
Well, it's possible. He's only, about 40 behind Glenn McGrath, perhaps more significantly from an Australian perspective.
Yes.
So if he could go past McGrath, he twins with Warne in another way as the top 2. So that seems much more likely than not, given how determined Lyon is to play for a few more years, and the fact that he's been fit for almost all of his career, except when that calf muscle exploded at Lord's. The first time he'd ever missed a test through injury. An extraordinary run there where he'd played. He got to his 100th test. He'd missed 4 in that time, and all of those were times when he was left out early in his career, so before 2013 in India would have been, or the start of the 2013 Ashes in England would have been the last time he was left out when available, and had been picked in the side since then. So Corbin and I were chatting about his career bowling average and the way he's been able to bring it down and down over the last few years. So when they got back from Sri Lanka in 2022, Jim, that was the last time Lyon's career average was above 32. And then over that previous Australian summer a year and a bit ago, then the trip to India, a couple of tests he played in England, and the last home summer he's brought it steadily down and down and down. At the moment it's 30.3. So if he took another 6 wickets without conceding a run, he'd be under 30. And his average hasn't been this low since 2012. So it's extraordinary that he's got better and better as he's got older. When he's in that mid-30s bracket where traditionally you expect players to be winding up, he's been improving with each season over the last few.
Well, if he plays as long as Clary Grimmett, he'll have over 1,000 test wickets, I think. Clary was still playing Shield cricket in his 50s and I think played his last test for Australia at 44. But he didn't start until he was 32 years of age.
Still holds the record for the most Shield wickets.
Cameron Green's been brought on after drinks and he's running in, and Mitchell knocks him away on the onside behind square for a single. So New Zealand they've gone with a whimper, unfortunately, this morning. You'd have to say some soft dismissal starting with Ravindra. They looked like they were getting themselves in, and then they had this offside plan to the left-hander, and Ravindra fell straight into it. Instead of hammering the ball into the ground, he just held a bit and he hit a short ball straight to Green at point. And that was the cue for the wickets that have fallen. 3 have fallen this morning as Green moves in again and bowls at Kugelheim, and he's edging away to the right of Mitch Marsh, who's there in the gully. So New Zealand starting the day with the hope, from the point of view of a lot of people, a lot of them at this ground, of course, that they might somehow get towards this 369 target. But it's now 6 for 150, and you'd think that it'll be lucky to get much past lunch unless there's some remarkable batting here. And well, there's the hope of a bit more batting, but it needs to last for quite some time. The pitch is looking okay. Green is bowling, and Kugelheim is leading it. He's got a reputation as a player with the bat, although it didn't show in the first innings, but he's got 17, and Mitchell's 28 at 6 for 150.
Yeah, curious selection. A lot of New Zealanders don't want to see him in the team, given his off-field history, and they've never addressed that appropriately, New Zealand cricket or the New Zealand team. They just pretend that none of that ever happened. It's a real shadow over this side. They like to cast themselves as the good guys of world cricket, but that's entirely inconsistent with how they've handled his case.
Green comes up and bowls, and it goes through to the keeper. Now, a lot of people listening might know what on earth you're talking about, so maybe without going into too much depth, but just a little more explanation of that history with Kugelheim.
Well, he was in court for a serious assault case a number of years ago, 2017 I think it was, where he had a hung jury in one instance. He managed to get a ruling of not guilty in his second trial, but there was a lot that came out during the trial that suggested whether you deemed it as criminal or not, his behaviour was reprehensible, no matter how a jury interpreted it.
Green comes in and bowls to him. He plays around the pad through square. There'll be a couple of runs here. Head has to chase back, and he moves along to 19, and it's 6 for 152.
And I think the key there is that was never addressed. So it is entirely reasonable for people to do bad things and then try to redeem themselves, try to better themselves, use that as a way to, as a spur to improve, you can't necessarily make up for things specifically, but use that as a spur to do something good, and try to introduce good into the world.
Green comes in and bowls, and it's pushed away by Mitchell towards square leg. But I'm just going to play the devil's advocate here as a part-time attorney. What was he convicted of?
Well, he wasn't. But I think the issue is that the barrier for entry to a test team, to represent your country, to have the highest honour in the sport, the barrier for entry should not be have you been convicted of a crime or not. And we know it isn't. We know that there's plenty of behaviour that would disqualify players from being selected. There are things they could say or do that would not be criminal, but that would still bar them from selection because people would not be able to stomach it. And a lot of the crowd here can't stomach the fact that Kugelheim is selected. He got no reception when he walked out to bat in the first innings. I wasn't on the boundary line this morning, so I couldn't assess it today, but he got very little applause or welcome to the crease in the first innings. And some of the people I spoke to down there were very uncomfortable with the fact that he's in the team. And I think if he'd made efforts to address what had happened and to try to demonstrate remorse and do something to try to offer recompense.
Line starts the over, pushed away to his short leg.
Then that might be a different situation. People do have the capacity to get better in their lives, but he's just pretended it's never happened. New Zealand never put him up for media. Everyone just keeps their mouths shut and pretends that the problem doesn't exist.
Line around the wicket, and he's swept, and it goes to Smith off the pad at leg slip, and he doesn't quite hang on to it, but it came from the pad. Has anyone done an investigative journalism piece on how he's received or not by his teammates?
No, that's they've kept their mouths shut as well, which is, I don't think reflects very well on the players around him, that they won't address the elephant in the room either.
Here's Line bowling back, and with the spin, it's turned away by Mitchell for a single. 6 for 153.
It's a small cricketing world here, and his father is also a prominent person in it. So
yes, he played Test cricket, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Chris
Kugelheim, yes. Well, has he done enough in terms of what he's supposed to do with the ball? Maybe the bat in this game play the next match, which is interesting given the imbalance that seems in this New Zealand side, without making judgments in other areas of what's going on with Cougar Lane. But Glenn Phillips is certainly going to get a bowler in the next match.
You would think so in the first innings, yeah. And,
but is that enough, or do they need another spinner? Have they got a good enough spinner against this side? I don't know. Over the wicket now, he's bowling. It's edged by Cougar Lane. Pushing forward. It's running away quickly down towards third man. It will be overhauled down here in the chase. And they come back for a couple of runs. Is that Renshaw on the field?
Come on, lad.
Chased down towards the boundary. 2 runs off a guided outside edge. Controlled, at any rate, along the ground. He's 21, 6 for 155.
Well, one option we'll come to in a second.
He comes in now over the wicket. He beats the bat, and that goes through everyone. That kicked off the pitch. The keeper couldn't get a mitt on its 4 byes. That was a tough one to take. That hit some footmarks, and it bounced like a kangaroo and turned viciously, didn't it? Over the stumps. Whew. See, that's why I'm watching this and I'm thinking, why doesn't Lyon bowl more over the wicket at the right-handers? And there was some evidence from what it was worth. But it was too good for everyone, went for byes.
Why don't New Zealand pick a specialist spinner?
Well, they've got a couple. Here comes Lyon. He's down the pitch this time. He said, I'm not doing any more of that stuff. And he was on the way as the ball was delivered, and he punted it down towards long on for a single. And so that's been quite a profitable over for New Zealand. Lyon 5 for 46 out of 6 for 160. Cougar Lane is 22 and Mitchell 29.
Well, Ajaz Patel, who famously took 10 in an innings for New Zealand in India, yesterday picked up 7 in the Plunket Shield for the Central Stags. So that's a fairly handy contribution for in a country where they don't seem to think that you're good enough to be in the test squad as a spinner. But you can go back to the next level down and grab a big bag of wickets.
Has he played since that series overseas?
Tiny bit.
Test match?
Tiny bit. He played in that series.
Yeah.
And then sort of floated around afterwards.
They were playing Bracewell in recent times, weren't they, with his off-spin?
Well, they liked his batting more than his spin wasn't very good. But
no. Here's Green for a new over, and he's punched away there by Cougar Lane. A lovely shot out through mid-wicket towards the boundary, and that's where it goes for 4 runs into the old Togler Road in front of the museum below us. Nicely timed. And he's making a contribution.
Ajaz Patel, he played on other Asian tours, but he hasn't played here. So they took him to Bangladesh, and they took him to Pakistan, didn't they, Brian? Ajaz Patel, yes. Oh yes.
There you go. Cougar Lane's 26,
and he played the test at Lord's as well after the 10 for.
Green bowls on the back foot. He tries to plaster this, but doesn't. Misses outside the line of the off stump as it bounced through. So 6 for 164 if you're just switching on beyond the first hour of play today. New Zealand losing those 3 wickets. Importantly, Ravindra, who looks so good for most of his innings, caught by Green at point, hitting a short ball from line straight to him. Out for 59, and then quickly Mitchell bat pad caught head bowl line naught. Phillips back on his stumps, plumb LBW to line for 1. But a little flurry in this partnership for New Zealand, keeping the show going. As Green goes in once more, and he's taken on the body as he pushed forward. He's rid of glove on that, he's out. Yep, he's gloved it down the leg side, it popped away in the air, and Cougar Lane is out. The extra bounce from the man Mountain Green, and a wicket that might just add another little tick in the man of the match decision, but that did kick up, and it must have taken a little bit of glove on the way through, and it ricocheted high down the leg side. Cougar Lane is on his way, and Green has his 33rd test wicket.
Well, had to be Cameron Green at some point, didn't it? I was a bit surprised we didn't see him bowl in the first innings, even though it was brief and even though he would have been sore and tired after his batting work. When you see a player make a big score who has some ability with the ball, they so often channel that into the next innings and contribute with the ball as well. But yep, Green eliminating the dream of Nathan Lyon taking 9 for today, but he could still get 8.
So how many wickets does Lyon have to get in this match to knock off Green for man of the match? How do you evaluate an 174 and a 30 odd and that wicket for what it's worth? I mean, against Lyon's 41 and
True.
9 wickets in the match.
The runs were important in that second innings.
How do you contrast bowling performances with batting performances?
I think
batsman only gets one chance normally. Bowler gets lots of chances.
True, but batters always get the gong, don't they? There's a gross discrimination against bowlers in this game. There always has been. They've always been the ones expected to come up from the cold pits and come out and do the work all day, while the posh batters sit there and stroke a few through the covers. So I think he'd look at it and say, well, if you take Green's batting performance out of this game, Australia are cooked. They're nowhere. Nobody else contributed with the bat, aside from Lyon, really.
Now, Green's bowling to Henry, and Henry likes to be the master blaster, but not so much to the quicker bowling. But he does let the bowler see the stumps, that's for sure. But that was so wide it wouldn't have mattered. 7 for 164.
So I would argue that Green rescues Australia on day 1 and into day 2. And by the time Lyon has an influence on the match, New Zealand are 6 down and miles behind on the first innings. So, yes, he cleans up the tail and it's a useful thing to do, and New Zealand only wish that they had bowlers who could have cleaned up the tail when Australia were batting. But the match is already largely on track by the time Lyon intervenes.
Green bowls a bouncer, and Henry ducks underneath it. It's a wide. Too high, sir. And Michael Goff's arms are spread to tell everyone what was happening. 7 for 165. Mitchell's hanging about on 29, but he's running out of pals here.
In the same way as if Green had made 170 in the third innings when Australia were already 250 ahead, then that would be less significant at that point. So I think Green's contribution is the one that is most influential on setting the course of the match, and Lyon is sealing the fait accompli.
Okay, we'll see what the judges say as he bowls back and goes Henry to the ball that's pitched short, and he gets over the bounce and plays it carefully away on the offside. So we're about 40 minutes from lunch on this 4th day, and it's hard to see this game going much beyond lunch, if in fact it gets that far. But there's another very good crowd in here with expectation, and probably for most of them, their expectations have been dulled by a soft batting performance against some steady bowling. Green goes in again, back he goes, and up over the bounce once more, pokes it down to Mitch Marsh. But in that over you could see the advantage of having Green in the attack with his ability to bounce the ball. He got Kuggeleijn into a tangle and he was caught down the leg side for 26.
Well, it's the luxury of not having to bowl Green at all in the first innings. Let him rest up a bit. Shorter second batting effort of 34 that he made, and he's able to take the ball and make a difference. I wonder what Terrell Mitchell's approach will be from here. It seems relatively pointless for him just to keep blocking out and plodding along as he has been. He's 29 off 108 balls. Well, he could keep doing that for another hour while the rest get out at the other end, and it won't greatly change the matrix. But Mitchell is a player who can be very attacking and can score quickly. I wonder if there's a case for him to try to put more pressure on the bowlers rather than just absorbing it.
So Lyon around the wicket now at Mitchell, and Mitchell's forward defending. I think he's just going to sweat on something to work away, or maybe smash through the field. This 7-2 field with a backward point, a little deep, and a mid-off, long on, deep square, deep backward square, leg slip, short leg, mid-wicket and square leg. Lyon with his sweater on comes in. Mitchell, yep, plays politely, away to short leg.
Well, he's got a big gap over mid-off, so everywhere from long on all the way around the deep on the offside. There are gaps everywhere, but to try to hit it that way will be nigh impossible given how far Lyon's turning the ball towards the leg side.
He goes over the wicket and he goes on the sweep and shovels it away down to deep backward square to expose Matt Henry. So if you're down there in the crowd at long on, somewhere in that region of those Pahutakawa trees. Get your hands warmed up. Look out, folks. He might be coming towards you with a blow. He likes hitting sixes over long on.
It is a hot Matt Henry summer, and he's enjoyed putting a few into the crowd in the first innings. 4 sixes in his 42.
And they're just signalling to the chaps in the deep, around a bit, a deep mid wicket for green. There's a deep square, there's a long on. Leg slip, short leg, backward square and a mid wicket. 7-2 field, around the wicket, here comes line. And he bowls to Henry, and Henry, won't have much to do with that. He lets it take the pad down the leg side. Not offering a shot, and Steve Smith has to clean up.
Such an awkward running style, Steve Smith. He's instantly recognisable with the hands sort of flapping by his side and the knees kind of angled outwards. He still manages to make very good ground when he fields in the deep.
He could play as Donald Duck in the school play. Around the wicket, line is bowling down the pitch, and he goes softly in the end. It wasn't quite there for the big hit, so he pushed it quietly away down the offside.
17 sixes, and he's in his 24th test. So usually, 1 6 per test is a very high ratio. He's nudging up towards that. Shahid Afridi went at 2 sixes per test, which is the highest ever.
Line again, and Henry is back. And it comes off some pad and away to the onside. So Lyon didn't tease him with a lob ball that he might whack, and that is the end of the over. So at the end of the over, we're going to have a change in commentary. Xavier Doherty's coming in at 7 for 166. Henry yet to score. Mitchell 30. Over to Dr. X, and then it'll be Brian Waddle.
Thank you, Jim. So we hear some Coldplay in the background. They're coming around. I like the Coldplay. Jim's not a fan. But, it's been a good morning for Australia. After a slow start. Last time I was in the chair, I was starting to get a little edgy. Brian, things have changed.
Yeah, I haven't changed my opinion.
Pretty consistent.
Yeah, I think I know where I'm at.
You can't be criticised for that.
Yeah, well, it's nice to hear a bit of Coldplay. One of their leaders in the group, of course, lives here locally.
He does, Chris Martin. Yeah.
Just across the water in Eastbourne.
A fine in-swinger.
Yeah, excellent bowler. Used to be a good expert on the commentary mic too. He did some work with us. We've got a business he runs out in Eastbourne, 4 Square Store. Here's Green going in bowling to Mitchell, and Mitchell gets a short ball. Oh, it's an awkward one. Has it got the bat? Doesn't matter. It has been dropped. Did it hit the helmet? There was certainly a noise, but they were scrambling to get it, and it's a leg by. So it wasn't a catch chance, but it came from the helmet, so that could be we'll have a period of break.
We will. We'll have a little break in play. I think Michael Goff was just contemplating whether he gives a leg by or a dead ball, given that Daryl Mitchell, he went to play a shot and at the last minute pulled out, so you can classify that as a genuine shot. It hit the top of his helmet very hard. This is just another string to the bow of Cameron Green, isn't it? A guy who we've spoken so much about. His batting this week in particular. He hasn't had the same opportunities with the ball, but Daryl Mitchell, he's been at the crease for a long time, and Cameron Green is certainly ruffled some feathers there. Daryl Mitchell looks like he's okay, just having a chat to his physio and sorting out a new helmet.
Well, the issue is protocol. He probably is okay, but, there have been too many issues to not take it seriously and make sure that the check is done. And, that's common practice in every sport now.
It is, yeah.
Think of rugby. I mean, they're having issues with certain mouth guards now in New Zealand where players are being taken off the field for a check because there's been a hit which is registered from their mouth guard.
Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't followed it quite closely myself, but it was an issue last week. Some of them were complaining there was nothing wrong with them, but their mouth guard had registered
the impact. They can register the impact. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay.
So and it is common sense. There's no doubt about that. We've got 167 for 7. And the lunch due in about 35 minutes. We're going to have an extra half hour until the game is decided. Ooh, that could happen again.
It could,
if it's
yeah.
9 down. Here's Green going in bowling to Henry, and Henry is edging from the inside of the bat down to the boundary for 4. Passed off stump, nicely placed, past the keeper as well, down to the boundary for 4. Matt Henry, nice casual deflection.
Exposing his stumps. Not a lot of, well, some slight foot movement, but probably not in the way that you would expect. Just hovering his feet back towards Travis Head at square leg. Thick inside edge, 140.6 kilometres from Cameron Green, who's had a pretty decent workload in this test match so far. He's no signs of slowing down.
And a smile from Henry. No surprise to me, that's exactly where I placed it. 171 for 7. Green bowls again to Henry, who's onto the back foot, powerfully playing through the offside. That's a handsome stroke. Out towards the boundary for 4. That's as good as you'd want to play off the back foot. A boundary from the second delivery. He's 8. 175 for 7.
That's a beautiful shot from Matt Henry. I think we picked up in the sound effects the crack off the bat. Again, not a lot of foot movement, but what comes with that is not a lot of head movement as well. So he's very still at the crease, stood up. Some good bounce from Cameron Green again, but Matt Henry just caught it at the top of the bounce, and Steve Warlock punched it past Marnus at cover there.
Up goes Green again from the Vance stand end, bowling to Henry, and this one has him playing at a delivery down the leg side, but making no contact. Well, you know, you talk about a back foot punch. You don't see that often in the game of Test cricket. We've seen it today from Mitchell. He played one earlier. It was a shot that Kane Williamson used to be able to play, but of course the extra bounce in this pitch probably has deterred players from being in that position.
Maybe you've just got to be a little selective, given the pace attack they're facing out here. I think Pat Cummins and his men it's a shot they wouldn't mind seeing. You've certainly got to wait until you get the width to be able to throw your hands through it.
175 for 7. Henry goes onto the back foot once more, just easing away and getting outside the leg stump, but still guiding it down to Nathan Lyon, fielding at a point.
He's a clean striker, isn't he, Matt Henry? We saw it in the first innings with the sixes that he was hitting off Nathan Lyon, 42 off 34 with 4 sixes.
He's just winding up.
He's getting himself sorted. He hasn't taken Nathan Lyon on just at the moment, so I'm sure there's still some fireworks to come
as they get closer to the target.
He's just timing his run, you think?
Goes Green bowling to Henry, and Henry manages to jab the bat down on that one, kept a little bit lower on him, fuller in length, and he was able to control it down, but he survived the over. 175 for 7 and a target of 369, so it's under 200 now, the chase target.
I'm not sure if it was if it shot through lower or if Matt Henry was just camping so far back that when Cameron Green finally did pitch up, he was caught out of position. What are the chances?
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
What are the chances of the final margin being 116 wads, which was that 10th wicket partnership that we saw in the first innings between Green and Hazelwood?
Well, that's the telling part of the game, isn't it?
Well, it has been, hasn't it? And I think Jim and Geoff were talking about man of the match candidates, and Green with that 174. Or Lyon, who's bowling so well in this innings.
He's now around the wicket, bowling to Mitchell. He turns it away on the onside behind square. Wants a run, won't get it though, as Henry thought against the option. Smith was there. It didn't travel too far, and Henry wasn't going to challenge his legs on that occasion. 175 for 7. Mitchell 30 from 113 deliveries. Here comes Lyon bowling to him again, and this one has him leaning forward, just nudging it into the offside. And again, a no call as it goes out towards Stark. Well, when you reflect on man of the match performances, the Green runs, the Green partnership with Hazelwood, the Green partnership with Marsh that restored the innings. It was just struggling along at that stage, wasn't it? Pushes it in his favour. Mitchell gets one down the leg side, didn't even bother to play. It spun so sharply, and he knew that it was never going to place him under threat.
Yeah, certainly the conditions and the state of the game at the time, you've got to take all that sort of stuff into consideration rather than just the final result. It was 174, by far and away the biggest individual total in this game, but it was, as you say, Wads, it was the circumstances around that. And the fact that he did push into the second day, 2.5 hours into the second day, what that does mentally for New Zealand. I think all those things are considerations.
Yeah, that pretty much knocked them, didn't it? Lions back over the wicket, bowling to Mitchell. Brings in another close fieldsman. Mitchell down the pitch. Hits it high and down the long on region. And one bounce to the crowd at the far end of the ground on the embankment. A 4 to Mitchell. And we haven't seen that much aggression from Mitchell in this game. But he's played some lovely shots right through the innings. But he got down to that one and decided it was time to give it the real heave. 179 for 7. Up again, bowling to Mitchell. And this one has him sweeping all along the ground, down towards deep backward square leg. The man down there is Usman Khawaja, and they take one more. 180 for 7. Mitchell to 35.
Yeah, he's been very patient so far, Daryl Mitchell, but thinking of it from his position, he hasn't given up hope here, and he can't give up hope. You know, while there's life in the game, he has to consider New Zealand still a chance, and I'm sure he does. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of that style of play. I'm sure he knows how his partner's going to play.
Well, line bowls again to Henry, who uses his feet, launches into the big one, and the man down at long on says, I'll collect that from the embankment. Clean hit from Matt Henry. Add that to his tally of sixes. 186 for 7.
Matt Henry, of course. Had a mind blank there. But, yeah, he knows how Matt Henry's going to play. He knows how Tim Southee's going to play. And it's going to be quite a bit of that, taking the off-spinner on. And they're certainly going to keep the scoreboard ticking over quite fast with that approach.
Well, that was a clean hit, though. I mean, he hits them.
What's that? So that's his 5th 6th in the match, Matt Henry. And
man of the match material?
No, he was
for a while with his bowling in the first innings.
If we're giving 5 votes, I'm sure he would make the 5. The way he bowled in the first innings, he's a leader of this attack now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just at the moment, he was exceptional on day one. The way he went about it, and his efforts with the bat have been handy. You know, maybe in the wash up it won't quite be enough, but
no, no. But I always like to pop a name in there just to help out.
He'll be in the votes.
Well, it's Hazelwood who's in the vote now. He's got the ball and he's bowling to Mitchell from the broadcasting end, advanced stand, and Mitchell's onto the back foot, punches it out of the offside, beats the diving fieldsman. They get a single. As in the deep, Nathan Lyon. Is this he out there on the boundary?
That's him, yep.
Yep. Having a rest. Resting on the boundary.
And contemplating, I think. Just contemplating how he's going to challenge Henry and Mitchell, because he now knows they're not just going to sit there and noodle them around.
And he won't want to be hit for too many more sixes. Spin bowlers don't like being hit for 6, do they?
They don't. No, not at all. So he's, they're giving him something to think about.
Well, 187 for 7. Hazelwood, nice, easy approach to the crease bowls to Henry, who's onto the back foot, punching it out to the offside. No run, though. This goes out to a short cover. He's so metronomic, Hazelwood, isn't he? The run-up never changes.
No.
I mean, I don't keep stats. I don't think anybody keeps stats. It's about the consistency of where the ball lands.
Oh, they would have him. They would have him there somewhere.
He would be one of the highest, wouldn't he, in terms of consistency of line and length. Cummins also has
getting better.
That record.
Getting better, but Josh Hazelwood, that's been his bread and butter since he was a teenager, basically.
Up he goes again, bowling to Henry, and Henry is back onto his stumps, just easing into the onside as he gets his footwork going, but he defends down to the onside. I mean, he's never been a huge pace bowler, Hazelwood. He's
fast enough.
Yeah,
I think you'd be surprised. And given that he's 6'5", it always feels a little quicker when you're standing at the other end. Yeah, somewhere in the mid 130s. And I guess when you've got Cummins and Stark at the other end, maybe facing Josh Hazelwood does feel a little slower, but it's quick enough.
Steadies again as he turns, heading away, bowling to Henry, the right-hander, and this one has Henry looking to drive at the ball. He's edged it and he's caught it slip. Got onto the front foot, went to drive, it was up there again. That consistency of line and length from Hazelwood gets the scalp, and Henry goes for 14. 187 for 8 as Henry departs.
Almost on cue. Josh Hazlewood, just a top of off stump, just doing his thing. Matt Henry was camped back a little bit. We've seen a couple of nice little punches off the back foot. This occasion, he did try and get forward, but he was still on the move. And that ball, as we mentioned, just in that really tough area of top of off stump, maybe just a little bit of kiss off the wicket as well. It was a nice catch. It was Steve Smith, the man at second slip, adds another one to his tally. It was nicely taken as we see Tim Southey, the man, coming to the crease.
And it's always difficult to have to acknowledge that there is no batting left.
From now, you're ruling him out.
Yes. I've seen him play enough Test innings. At times, I wonder why he even comes in at 10.
What is he? He's in the top 10 for most sixes in Test cricket.
Southey.
He's ninth.
Yeah.
He's ninth on the list all time. This game's been going for 150 years.
Yeah.
He's sitting ninth as most sixes, and
I tend not to put too much store on how many sixes you've had.
Geoff, how many sixes was it? 86. He's hit 86 sixes in Test cricket, Tim Southey.
Yeah, most of them probably came in the first game he played too. Got 70 odd in the first game that he played, and hasn't been able to match that since then.
Of course, the captain of this Black Caps team, so he's no doubt going to show a little bit of pride in his wicket, and he's got Daryl Mitchell still at the other end. 8 for 187. Still a way to go.
Hazlewood with his first wicket, 1 for 18, goes in to bowl to Southey. And this delivery has Southey walking forward into his drive. Solid defence. 187 for the loss of 8. 369 is... why are we talking about the target? I don't think we need to talk about the target, do we?
It's still there. As I mentioned, Daryl Mitchell still he looks up at the scoreboard. He will see how close can we get. Can we make Australia nervous here? No doubt. Yeah, and he has to. Like you don't give up hope in any level of sport, particularly in Test cricket. There's 6,000 people have come to the game here, most of them locals. They want to see this Black Caps team fight to the end.
Hazlewood bowls to Southey, and Southey plays defensively into the offside. It'll be fielded there by Tabashane, who fires at the stumps. I'm not sure why he wanted a single off the last ball of the over, but never mind. That's been taken. 188 for the loss of 8. Mitchell is 36 and Southey is 1. I'll leave you to put some comments in, and Corbin will come in to join you.
Thanks, Watts. Yeah, played into Australia's hands beautifully there. They just dropped the deep point out for the final ball of Josh Hazlewood's successful over. Tim Southey happy to get himself to the other end and off the mark. Australia equally happy to have the opportunity to expose Tim Southey to Nathan Lyon. You call it that, but I think Tim Southey's going to fancy his chances of bumping up that tally of sixes. 9th of all time, a quirky stat, not someone I would associate with some of the other big names on that list. Welcome back, Corbin.
Thanks, X. Here we go, Nathan Lyon. He's got 5 for already on his way in, bowls to Southey. He whips it off his pads and well fielded. Short leg, Travis Head underneath the helmet. And nearing a conclusion here at the Basin Reserve in Wellington. It's great to have you with us on ABC Radio, wherever you may be. Across the country or around the world for that matter. ABC Radio, Sport Digital and the Listen app. Lyon on his way in again. Southey's back looking to cut, and it's almost cut him in half. Taken by the keeper Carey between the leg stump and the batsman.
Oh my goodness, that has gone an absolute mile. So Steve Smith said at stumps last night they think the wicket's lost a little bit of life. I'm glad to see for Australia's sake that hasn't appeared to be the case.
First slip, leg slip, short leg around the bat. Line on his way into Southey, takes the long handle to it, hammers it back down the ground, and that has gone a significant way. He's belted it out of the ground for 6. Get another one on that tally. He's up to 87 Test sixes. Southey 7 not out, 8 for 194 New Zealand.
Yeah, I think the previous delivery might have spooked Tim Southey into that shot, but it's his natural game. As we might have a little break here, they've lost the ball somewhere. There's a lot happening at that other end with sight screens. There's about 3 different types, some attached to scaffold, some lining the hill that some of the patrons are sitting on up there. There's an electronic one, there's a stationary one, there's a what's the word? One they throw over the top,
right.
A backup sheet that we had to use yesterday.
I was about to say, this is all you on the descriptions of that.
Sorry, yeah. There's about 6 different types of sight screen at the other end. Somewhere it's been nestled in there.
Just as the 4th umpire came out with the box of balls, they've found it. So it's been flung back to Nathan Lyon, and now Murray Rasmus is going to take a quick look at it. Gives us a chance for me to tell you what's happened today. So New Zealand resumed at 3 for 111. Rachel Ravindra, a lot of hopes really rested on his shoulders from a local point of view. He was out for 59, caught cutting straight to green at point off Lyons bowling. Nathan Lyon's ready to go here as he's flatted delivery to Southey's back and turns it away to mid-wicket. There's no run in that. Blundell didn't last long. A 3rd ball duck, caught short leg. Travis Head underneath the helmet off Lyons bowling. And then Glenn Phillips all in quick succession out for 7. LBW Lyon, he went for 1. That was Lyons' fifer, took 5 of the first 6 in the innings. Lyon on his way in again. Southey goes, takes a hand off the bat. He's mishit this. Down to Stark at long on. He takes the catch. And the GOAT gets even greater. Nathan Lyon, for the 5th time, has taken 10 wickets in a test match. 4 in the first and now 6 in the second innings. 6 for 64. Southey goes for 7 and New Zealand are 9 down.
There's been a lot happened in this game that's been hard to predict. That was not one of them, Corb. Tim Southey backing away, giving himself a little bit of room. As you mentioned, he was defeated in flight from Nathan Lyon. The ball before, he skidded through, just trying to break up the momentum so it didn't become 6-hitting practice for Tim Southey. That one, he just threw up a little slower, dragged the ball down the other side just to get a little bit of drop. He's defeated Tim Southey in flight. As you mentioned, one hand on the bat as he swung through. Mitchell Stark took the easiest of catches. The GOAT, Nathan Lyon, 6 for 64, adds another to his very impressive test wicket tally.
Continues the climb, so 10 in the test match for Nathan Lyon. He's got 24 5-wicket hauls and now 5 times he's taken 10 or more in a test. He's up to 527 wickets in his career. That leaves him in 7th spot outright on the all-time wicket takers list. And he's coming for the pigeon. Glenn McGrath, 563, is in 6th spot. And Will O'Rourke here has got hamstring tightness. Didn't bowl yesterday late. Actually came off mid-over. Midway through his 8th over in the Australian second innings. Has come out to bat. So he's walked out to take his place at the crease at number 11. So hopefully that is a positive sign.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a talking point in the wash-up of this test match, whether O'Rourke is fit to go for next test and who are the options.
Nathan Lyon on his way into the number 11, and O'Rourke confidently defends out on the offside. 9 for 194 New Zealand. Mitchell 36 not out. O'Rourke yet to score. The Aussies need 1 wicket to wrap up the test match and extend their dominance over their little brother across the ditch in New Zealand. It's been a long run now. I have to go back almost 31 years since New Zealand have beaten Australia in these parts, and during that stretch they've beaten Australia only once anywhere in Test cricket, and that was of course the 2010 Test in Hobart.
Similar grounds, aren't they, Corb?
But there are some similarities between Wellington and Hobart. Corb, with the Aussies likely to retain the trophy today, where do you come down on including the T20s in a multi-format series from Hugh in Brisbane off the SMS? And now the world-renowned test tactics of trying to get the last wicket and innings, the field all pushes back with Darryl Mitchell, the set bat on strike, and he just defends back down the pitch.
That's a great question from Hugh, isn't it? Because that's been such a big talking point, how we get these short format series some relevance, you know, given that, you know, and something that you and Ed talk about quite often on your podcast.
Which you can find, by the way, in the podcast store, the Grandstand Cricket Podcast with myself and Ed Cowan. New drop every Monday.
So it's something that you and Ed speak quite often about, is how do we get some relevance into those shorter format series outside the World Cup, and particularly with, the 50 overs World Cup, which is 3 years away.
Mitchell, the last of the recognised bats, awaits Hazelwood and just dabs it away on the leg side. He doesn't want a single, despite the fact the field's back.
Yeah, but the fact we see it in the female game, don't we? Where all three formats of the game go to an overall point scoring system, and if you lose the one-day series, there's still a chance to make up a few more points in the test. I don't mind it as a theory. If you're going to hand out one trophy, go back to handing out one trophy instead of three. It might just put a little bit more on those T20 and one-day games. Not a bad suggestion.
Mitchell awaits. Hazelwood delivers it short, and Mitchell is pulling. He pulls it all the way down to fine leg. Mitchell Stark retrieves it, and the batters decide not to run. So Mitchell's still there on 36. O'Rourke's yet to score. 9 for 194, New Zealand.
Corb, just quickly. 10 for the match, Nathan Lyon. What if he gets 11 and he's top scorer in the second innings? Is he putting pressure on Green for man of the match?
What's the gap in the game currently?
The gap in the game is 175.
175. So obviously there was a 116-run partnership for the 10th wicket in the first innings. Lyon was dropped and added another 35 thereafter as Mitchell plays with a straight bat and punches away through cover for one. He says, "Come on, Will." Calls him through, and Darryl Mitchell trots down to the non-striker's end, and Will O'Rourke has 2 balls to navigate. I think the fact that the next best score in the game is 71, and Green got 174 not out.
I agree. I'm just
in the second innings.
Just posing the question. Yeah. And quite often it comes down to who did what first as well, who set the game up. And it was, if Lions 6 for or 7 for potentially came in the first innings, and that was the part of the game that set up a win for Australia, then maybe it carries a little bit more weight. But given the circumstances, the conditions, the fact that he had to bat for 2.5 hours on the second day with Josh Hazelwood, Cameron Green would probably get my vote.
Hazelwood gets a go at the number 11. It's short, and O'Rourke ducks underneath it. There's 3 slips, almost 4 slips. The gully's not very wide at all. Point. The mid-off's almost more an extra cover, and the mid-on is more a mid-wicket. Then there's a short leg and a fine leg. One to come in the Hazelwood over. O'Rourke yet to score. The Aussies need 1 wicket to win the test. 9 for 195, New Zealand. Well, I'm not sure the part-time offie taking 5 in the second dig in Glenn Phillips helps Lions' case either in the man of the match honours, where Green scores runs when very few other players have scored runs, whereas Lyon takes a bag of wickets while another part-time spinner takes wickets. As Hazelwood bowls to O'Rourke outside the off stump, he doesn't have to play, so decides not to. And that's the end of the over. New Zealand 9 for 195.
Showing a little bit of disrespect to Glenn Phillips there, Cor, but I do get what you're saying.
It's certainly not intended that way.
He bowled well. No, of course, I know that's not what you were saying, but he did bowl very well, Glenn Phillips. And chatting to Brian Waddle, I haven't seen a lot of Glenn Phillips bowl, particularly in Test cricket. He is a guy that gets a lot of spin on the ball, so these conditions, these very unfamiliar conditions that we've seen at the Basin Reserve certainly suited his bowling, but at the end of the day, he did bowl very well. But I do get the point that you're making.
We get to go to Christchurch day after tomorrow, so we'll be there a couple of days before the second test, which starts on Friday. You can hear it all through the ABC Listen app. Same time, 8:45, our coverage begins, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Nathan Lyon's going to get the chance to take 11 here. He's going to bowl from the Adelaide Road end of the ground. I'm very excited to be going to a cricket ground with Jim Maxwell that he hasn't been to before. That's I don't think there's very few people that have done that.
That's what they call it, isn't it? He hasn't been there.
Hasn't been there.
So in test cricket's only been there for, a decade?
Yep.
Is that right? Because they used to play, it was obviously the earthquake affected Christchurch, of course, so.
The old Lancaster Park. As Lyon is on his way in, he bowls to Mitchell, who's reverse sweeping. Hit it clean, thought about a single, and in the end it's his partner, Will O'Rourke. He says, "I want none of that. You can stay there, Darryl." Mitch Marsh retrieves it at third man.
More for the fact that Will O'Rourke is probably going to struggle to take a
sharp single.
A semi-risky single, given his hamstring.
Here we go. Steve Smith's dropped back to more of a regulation gully that you'd see for a quick. As Mitchell on his on strike here, waits Lyon, just turns it away to short leg and fielded by head underneath the helmet.
You see that in the under-12s, don't you? Let's just move the fielder where he's just
where
hit
the ball's gone.
So let's take our first slip out, which you see every ball for the last 150 years, and put him right where that reverse sweep went.
Field pretty spread. 2 in the catching position as Lyon bowls to Mitchell, and Mitchell tucks it off his thigh pad to Khawaja at backward square. Aussies need 1 wicket to win the test, by the way, if you've just flicked on the radio. It's been Nathan Lyon's day. He's got 10 wickets for the test match. He's got 6 in his second innings. He's taken 4 of them today. Lyon on his way in again. Bowls to Mitchell. He just whips it wristily backward of square. Picked up by Labuschagne out in the deep. Now 10 minutes away from the scheduled lunch break on day 4, but they will extend past that to try and to get the result in here. New Zealand still a long way away. The target 369, now 9 for 196.
173 by my maths. Is that right? Or maybe it's updated a little quick for me.
No, that's right.
174.
Yep, they need 174 to win.
Oh, yeah.
Which means the Aussies are 173 ahead. Which is nice to know if the game just ends quickly and we can say that. Win by 173 runs. Now they're going to bring the field in after Mitchell picked up that single. 9 for 196.
So 2 balls. Will O'Rourke's going to have to negotiate from Nathan Lyon at his preferred end. It was a strange move not to start him. We're going to have a little break. They're calling for some more helmets. Someone's fielding a little too close without a lid on.
So this is an ICC rule now, isn't it? That you have to. If you're too close, you must wear a helmet.
It must be if you're in front of the... Because Steve Smith's had a leg slip. I wonder who they're calling. Yeah, they're calling for an offside. Yeah. It must be if you're in front of the wicket, in front of the batsman. Right. You're required to wear a helmet. Did we get to the bottom of the Usman Khawaja not wearing the stem guards?
No.
That might be a talking point for this afternoon, or a lead into Christchurch.
This is a field. It's almost like a moon shape around Will O'Rourke on the leg side. They've been trying to lay these leg side traps really the whole innings. There's a first slip, 2 leg slips, a first and second leg slip, almost a leg slip and a leg gully. Then there's 2 short legs. Obviously both of them in front of square, given the fact there's too many catching positions at leg slip. O'Rourke is on strike. Line around the wicket, and O'Rourke, he defends that one well. Pounces off his pads and drops next to the man at short leg, and there's a cheer.
We know
in the crowd.
He knows Will O'Rourke where they're trying to bowl to him. I'll give him that.
It's been great crowds, entire test match, and again today that grass bank on the eastern side well populated. Has line to O'Rourke, and he just defends away to Marsh in the second of those slips on the leg side. That's the end of the Nathan Lyon over. He's got 6 for 65 to go, 10 for the match. Mitchell's 38 not out. O'Rourke's yet to score. The Aussies need 1 wicket to win the test match. New Zealand 9 for 196.
The GOAT. It's not a term that sits well with him, Corb. We spoke about it a little bit with Cameron Green. He's a guy that, well, they're both 2 guys that I'm sure are full of confidence, but even chatting to Nathan Lyon before play today, they're not guys that sort of portray it or put it across. They always seem a little unsure of themselves. You know, we've got a guy who's on, how many test wickets did we say? 527. And he's still someone who, you just get the feeling he constantly second guesses himself, but I'm sure that's not the case. Hazelwood it'll be.
Field back. There's 2 slips in a gully behind the wicket, though, as Mitchell is on strike, opens the face of the bat, runs it backward a point. Oh, he called for a single. Now the batters have crossed mid-pitch, and they've decided to go back their original end. Almost as if Daryl Mitchell forgot the playbook for a moment. He's still on strike, on 38, 9 for 196.
We've seen that twice.
Yep.
Fancy that. They've literally crossed by 2 or 3 metres. Daryl Mitchell's called. He's thought about it for a split second. Called yes. He's got 3/4 of the way up the wicket. His mate's got a dodgy hamstring, mind you. So they wouldn't want to be doing that too often. He's got a big smile on his face, Daryl Mitchell. He realises pretty quickly the mistake he made.
2 slips in the gully. Mitchell on 38. Awaits Hazelwood, looking to close the test, and Mitchell just punches away out through point, decides against running. New Zealand have an impressive record down in Christchurch at Hagley Oval over the last decade. They've played there 12 times, lost only twice, with 9 wins. One of those losses was to Australia in 2016. It was a match Australia won by 7 wickets. Joe Burns was man of the match. At 170 and 65 in the second dig, and Steve Smith also got 100 in the first innings and was 53 not out in the second. As Mitchell awaits Hazelwood at short, and he's pulling out towards the man in the deep. That's Travis Head, and they decide against the single again. Baz McCullum made 145. Wagner took 6 for in the first innings, and Jackson Bird took 6 for the Aussies.
Big squid.
5 for the Aussies.
Jackson Bird. He would have enjoyed those conditions. So good in green seeming conditions, Jackson Bird. Well, Steve Smith will be hoping for a repetition of some of that. It's been a pretty strong talking point, certainly in this commentary box, and I'm sure everywhere else around the ground, the toing and froing and with the makeshift opener just at the moment.
Cover and mid-wicket come in, mid-on and mid-off a little closer. Halfway through this Hazelwood over. Still square leg, fine leg and point back as Hazelwood bowls to Mitchell. He goes to hit out, gets a top edge, sets up. Hazelwood takes the catch and closes the show. And the Aussies continue to play the role of big brother in Test cricket against New Zealand. Their undefeated streak on these shores stretches almost 31 years now. Australia win the Test match by 172 runs. And as a result, they retain the Trans-Tasman Trophy at the earliest possible opportunity. 1-0 up in the best-of-2 series, the Aussies by 172 runs.
Yeah, well played again from Australia. Nathan Lyon, the man who finally we got a prediction right, was going to have to be the man to stand up for Australia on this day 4. Spinning conditions, he probably wasn't quite at his best earlier in the Test match. He's rocked up today. He's added another 4 wickets to his tally. He's finished with 6 for 65. Nathan Lyon. Josh Hazelwood once again chipping in. He finishes with 2 for 20. Daryl Mitchell, he fought pretty hard till the end there. It felt a little inevitable that was going to be the case. Australia got their tactics right towards the end. They brought the field in. Maybe New Zealand might be able to take something out of that. They messed their tactics up on day 2 when Green was batting with Josh Hazelwood. They allowed that to flow for far too long. On this occasion, with Pat Cummins at the helm, they've got their tactics spot on. They've forced Daryl Mitchell into a shot. All he could do was spoon it up. And Josh Hazelwood took a pretty easy return catch in the end.
172-run victory in the end for the Australians. New Zealand all out for 196 in their second innings. Daryl Mitchell, the last man out, caught and bowled Hazelwood for 38, having faced 130 deliveries, and Will O'Rourke finishes unbeaten on 0. He does have a dodgy hamstring. Had to withdraw bowling in his 8th over yesterday. The Aussies make their way off the park. The handshake line is underway. Pat Cummins leading his team back in the winners list in Test cricket, having, of course, dropped their last Test match to the West Indies in Brisbane. While for New Zealand, it's been a long run that's been well documented. The last 32 Test matches, they have only 1 win to show for it. Way back at Hobart in 2010, so Australia, another comprehensive victory. And they made 383 in the first dig on the back of that 10th wicket partnership worth 116. Cam Green, 174 not out. And then when New Zealand had the chance to bat, it was Nathan Lyon who ended up picking up 4 wickets, 4 for 43. There wasn't much to write home about in the Kiwis' first innings, all out 179. And after a 204-run advantage on the first innings, it really set up the Test match for the Australians. All out 164 in their second dig. Glenn Phillips, the part-time offie, picking up 5 for 45. And then late on the third day into day 4, Nathan Lyon went to work, picked up 2 wickets last night. He added a further 4 today to finish with 6 wickets in the second innings and 10 for the Test match. Ravindra made 59, Daryl Mitchell a patient 38. But in the end, New Zealand again all out, sub 200, 196 all out. Australia winning the Test match by 172 runs. The bowling for the Aussies, 27 overs for Nathan Lyon, 8 maidens, 6 for 65. During the Test too, he moved up to 7th spot all-time on the wicket takers list in Test cricket history. Josh Hazelwood, 9.4 overs, 2 for 20. Travis Head, 4 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 10. Cameron Green, 3 overs, 1 for 16, the other wicket. Meanwhile, Pat Cummins, 12 overs, none for 40. And Mitchell Starc went wicketless, 9 overs, none for 29. 172-run win, 1 ahead in the series. The second test is in Christchurch, starting on Friday. In the end, comprehensive.
It was comprehensive, Corb. We came into today thinking that there was an outside chance for New Zealand, and I sort of got that feeling late yesterday doing a wander around the ground, and then again this morning when we got here, that they weren't without a chance, New Zealand, but a lot was going to rest on Rachin Ravindra and how long he could last in the day. He lasted about 25 minutes in the end, and it really felt like that once that wicket fell, it was a top-edge cut shot. It was a shot that he'd been playing all the way throughout this innings off Nathan Lyon. It was a key scoring opportunity for him. But as soon as that wicket fell this morning for Ravindra, that it was going to be really tough work. In the end, it was quite easy. Well, you say easy. It was easy to watch in the end. But Nathan Lyon, the GOAT, ran through them. Only a couple of balls later, we saw the back of Blundell, and I guess from that over onwards, 2 wickets in the over. It was all the running for the Aussies. Corb.
Let's rip into it then. Grandstand at Stumps, Australia 1 ahead in the Trans-Tasman series after a comprehensive 172-run victory over New Zealand in the first of 2 test matches across the ditch. Australia on the back of 383 in the first innings. Cameron Green top scoring with 174. Not out. It was 103 more runs than any other individual player scored in the test match. Matt Henry took 5 in the first innings. New Zealand all out 179, batting for a first time with the bat. Nathan Lyon picked up 4 wickets there. Australia's second innings, not a whole lot to write home about. All out for 164. It was the part-time offie Glenn Phillips who took the limelight, 16 overs, 5 for 45, and then set a monstrous chase, 369. It would have been a record chase for New Zealand in Test cricket. In the end, they were all out for 196. Nathan Lyon picking up 6 wickets. It's his 24th 5-wicket haul in Test cricket history, and the 5th time that he's taken 10 in a match. 4 in the first innings, 6 in the second. Rachin Ravindra scoring 59 was the only player to reach a half hundred in New Zealand's second dig. So a 172-run win for Australia. It means in the last 32 Test matches, New Zealand have beaten Australia only once. And a big win for the Aussies to bounce back to the winners list in Test cricket after dropping that Test match to the West Indies in Brisbane. Corbin Middlemas on grandstand at Stumps alongside 3-format spinner for the Aussies, Xavier Doherty. And the voice of summer, Jim Maxwell, has the headset on as well. I'll go to you first, Jim. In the end, pretty comprehensive victory for the Australians. They get it done in all phases, and New Zealand unable to make over 200 with the bat in either dig.
Well, no surprise that Australia has won. I mean, they're clearly a very good side. But you'd have to say they weren't really stretched in this game by New Zealand. That was an impotent performance by what is a much better cricket team than that. And they always look impotent when they play Australia in recent years. And, you know, from the way the game started, they sent Australia in. There was a lack of what I call toxicity, intimidation even about some of their bowling. And they did bowl very well, as it turned out, throughout the rest of the day, and had Australia on the back foot, but couldn't quite finish it off. The problem for New Zealand always seems to be with their batting. They're not sure how they should go about it. And today, resuming at 3 for 111, you just had the feeling, the hope that perhaps there'd be a long partnership. But as soon as Australia through line went with that offside field to the left-hander, he succumbed so meekly. Rather than concentrating and making sure he didn't come up with the error. He had this intent, obviously, to take the bowling on, and it ended up in the prick balloon dismissal of an easy catch being sent to it green at point. I mean, they lost their last 7 wickets for 70 on what is quite a good pitch. So if you're a New Zealander, you'd have to be disappointed, not just in the fact that Williamson got 0-9, that never helps New Zealand's cause, but with the overall quality of their batting and obviously their tactics through that last wicket partnership that saw Australia get away with an additional 116 when perhaps 10 or 20 was what was called for, with a bit more sharpness about trying to get the batsman out at the time. So as much as I love seeing Australia play strong, vibrant cricket, there was some of that in this game, and Green was just outstanding, very significant performance, even with the ball when he came on and got a wicket there. But New Zealand, they can play better than that. You've got to believe it, but we didn't see it. And that's what's so disappointing. And I think if you went around the crowd here, most of them New Zealand fans who came today, they would be so disappointed that New Zealand couldn't do better than 196 from 3 for 111. But this seems to be the pattern in Australia-New Zealand cricket in recent years, even though it's not something that happens very often. And that's going to be one of the reasons why people will say, well, what's the point if New Zealand aren't going to be stronger in competing against Australia? That probably takes us back to the first game ever played here in 1946 and the fact that they never played for another 27 years. We don't want to go back to that. We know New Zealand are a much better team, but they've got to show it. They've got to stick their necks out or something against Australia and show everyone that they're not intimidated by this Australian side. And for a lot of this game, perhaps they weren't. But in the final analysis, they were. They were just blown away on what is quite a good surface by an insipid batting performance.
It's a far too familiar story for New Zealand, when that they have failed to play their best cricket, let alone winning the Test match, but failed to play at their best against the Aussies in recent times. The presentations are going on downstairs. We'll get some reaction from Geoff Lemon as well, who hopefully catch up with some of the key participants as we work our way through the Test. But no surprise, Cam Green has been named as the player of the match. Any issues with that, Xavier Doherty?
None.
Yep.
None. He was the man who set it up for Australia in that first innings. Given the conditions that he had to face when he came out, they were in a little bit of trouble. Australia 9 for 267 when Josh Hazlewood came to the crease late on day one. That was the moment in the game where, as Jim was talking about there, New Zealand had done some hard work. They'd kept their noses in it. They won the toss and bowled. And they got through, the middle order that gets praised so heavily here, the Australian middle order. But after doing all that hard work on day one, they let themselves down first session of day two. I think there were two key moments in this game. The first key moment went for 2.5 hours on day two. They completely got their tactics wrong. They'd done so much hard work, but when it was Green and Hazlewood at the crease early on day two, they just allowed Cameron Green to settle in. They had the field spread. There was no pressure on him whatsoever with a ball that was 5 overs old. They had no intention of trying to get him out. And Josh Hazlewood, for the first 20, 30 minutes, only faced a handful of deliveries, so they completely missed their chance to knock Australia over. In the end, Australia made 383 on a wicket that was providing a little bit. The second big moment was the Williamson run out. You just felt that when that happened, he and Will Young made an absolute mockery of running between the wickets. The player that New Zealand rests all their hopes with so heavily was out for a duck without scoring. And I just felt as soon as that happened, all the wind came out of New Zealand, and there was a collective groan around the ground that, right, our chance is gone. This is going to be really hard work. Yes, they fought pretty hard, and Glenn Phillips bowled beautifully and got them back. Well, maybe not back into the Test match, but just provided that little glimmer of hope. I think Australia were a little guilty of just falling into a trap there, just resting on their laurels, and felt that they'd had enough runs. In the end, it was, and it proved that they had enough on the board, but it wasn't great batting from Australia in that second innings. They did open the door very slightly, and as Jim mentioned, as soon as Ravindra got out this morning, all hope was gone for New Zealand.
We are lucky that we have you with us, Xavier, on this tour to New Zealand, and particularly when Nathan Lyon bowls like that, as a former Test spinner, to be able to talk us through it. So picked up 4 in the first innings, even by his own admission, didn't feel like he bowled well. And then even last night he had 2 by close, and you were quite strong in your analysis saying, look, essentially he was too defensive in some of his tactics, and that he was only trying to get the batters out one way. Well, he came out today and added a further 4 wickets to give him 10 for the match. It's just the 5th time that he's been able to do that in Test cricket, 10 wickets in a Test match, and moves up to 7th all-time on the wicket takers list. What did you see from Nathan Lyon here in Wellington?
Well, you're spot on there, Corb. Last night I was a little critical of the tactics, and he's played a lot of Test cricket now. He has to take sole responsibility for those tactics. Yes, he's got Pat Cummins, who's played quite a bit of Test cricket. He's got Andrew McDonald and Dan Vettori, you know, one of the great spinners of this generation or the previous generation, you know, in the back room helping him out. But Nathan, it's on Nathan Lyon to get those tactics right. I guess it's easy to sit here as a critic and as a viewer and pick little holes in his game. It did become same. They were only trying to get particularly the right-handed batsman out one way. All the fielders were on the leg side. And it became a little easy towards the end of yesterday's play. Clearly, this morning, he started from the wrong end. After all that, you know, he started from the northern end here. They were pretty quick to rectify that and swing him around to the bottom end where Phillips got all his wickets yesterday, and Nathan Lyon got his breakthroughs as well. He came over the wicket early this morning. He challenged both edges of the bat, which is the one thing I was critical of. I think as soon as you only try and get the batsman out one way, which was spinning it in and trying to get them caught on the leg side, it becomes so much easier. When you challenge both edges, it makes the other side of the bat even more dangerous. If you're trying to get the batsman out more than one way, life becomes really difficult. He did that today. He finished with 6 wickets. He keeps climbing the list. And, as we mentioned during the call, he's got Glenn McGrath just ahead of him. Maybe next summer he might reel in the pigeon. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it moves up to 527 all time now on the back of his 10 wickets here in Wellington. He obviously has another Test match to come before the next Aussie summer in Christchurch. Exciting, Jim. I mentioned to you during, actually not to you, when you were out of the room during the broadcast. I'm excited to head to a Test venue with you that you haven't been to before, which is Hagley Oval. There's very few people that can say that, given you've been to so many cricket grounds all around the world. But you've been to Christchurch before, but not to this ground.
Now, Corbin, as you get a little bit older, you'll be struggling to find people who would have gone to Lancaster Park. But that's the last time I saw Test cricket in Christchurch, but that's a while back. Yes, I'm looking forward to the pleasantry of being in the park, the big Hagley Park. I remember playing golf there years ago. It's a lovely part of the world, but I haven't been to the cricket ground, and hopefully we have an entertaining and competitive match there. But yes, there's a lot to look forward to when we get down there. There's some sort of a historic celebration around Christchurch.
Yeah, there's a reunion 50 years on from the 74 team.
Now, I have to say, I must tell you, one of the reasons it took me so long to get back from going downstairs to this box is that I had to go through the Wanderers Cricket Club room, right? And, you know, first bloke I meet is Bruce Edgar, who famously was the man on 100 not out at the non-strikers end when Trevor Chappell rolled it down the river that day on the MCG. So I had a great chat to Bruce because his son and my younger son were at different schools but played cricket against each other. So we're rambling on about that. And then I go another yard and there's Tony Blaine, who kept wicket for New Zealand and was working with us on the radio in 2003. And he took me up in his bomby old Ford, which is leaking petrol, for the best views in Auckland. Come and show you this view. And as we were going out, a bloke came up because he was down in the car park in Auckland, and he said, "You've got a leaking car down there. You better go and attend to it." And we got out there, and there was a copper there and some other bloke, and they were going on about Tony's leaking car. And I said, "You blokes are ridiculous." It was a bit like me talking to that car park attendant today. I said, "You have absolutely lost it. That is petrol. Get some water, tip it on the ground, it'll run away, and you won't have a problem, okay?" So, as I said, I've had several reunions, and then I go down the stairs, as you need to here, because this is what I would call an impossible place. You run into someone else who I met in the West Indies 25 years ago, and they were talking to me about this, that and the other. And then next thing, I'm down near Jimmy, who we were speaking to earlier in the day. So that's the one enjoyable thing about being in a place where the commentary box is so remote from all the facilities required at a cricket ground that you can then have a conversation. So that's why I was away for 20 minutes.
It's our benefit, Jim, in a way that the commentary box is that remote. Otherwise, we would never see you. You'd be down there the entire time. Look forward to hearing from you in Christchurch.
Okay.
Jim Maxwell, so great to have him on tour with us again on ABC Radio, the voice of summer in Australia. One up in the best of two series. They win the test match here by 172 runs. Some reaction from downstairs shortly. The target was 369, and in the end New Zealand all out for 196. Corbin Middlemas and Xavier Doherty on grandstand at stumps. Brian Waddle is going to stop by for a chat in just a moment as well. Cam Green is the player of the match. I don't think we've got access to Cam Green with Geoff Lemon, which means let's hear him speak to the TV broadcasters a short time ago as part of the presentation after picking up his gong.
Player of the match, Cam Green, congratulations. 1-7 not out. It was a heck of an innings from you. Set up this test for Australia. How did you feel after that kind of knock, Cam?
Yeah, it's always a good feeling. Yeah, it was a bit of a tough wicket day one and kind of stayed like that for the whole game. So, yeah, no, it's a nice win.
You've announced yourself to New Zealand audiences for sure. This test match had its moments for both sides, but ultimately that stand with Josh Hazlewood, and I thought Josh batted brilliantly too. What were you talking about while you were out there?
Yeah, I think we kept it pretty simple. I think it's always nice having an experienced head out there. I think he's been in those